Young Bucks, Old Goats, 132. I got the old bomb tank. What's going on, guys?
What's happening?
What's going on?
Is the Heat going to hold on for this victory?
I don't know. They stayed at 62 for quite some time now.
So at the half, they were up by 15. The third quarter has started, I believe. Let's see. Let me refresh.
They're 62-49 right now.
Okay, so the Celtics got the first bucket. No, 65. We hit a three. 65-49. So we're up by 16 just into the third quarter. We'll keep an eye on that. Hey, let me get this out the way real quick. I got one of our guests recently, Kirby from Mama, Somebody Shot the President podcast. He sent me this T-shirt. Thank you, bro. Really appreciate it. I'll rock this. I have my Heat attire today, but I definitely will rock this. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming on the podcast. Appreciate you. And I'm gonna send you a shirt when I get a chance, Kirby. Thank you. He was on the JFK episode we had. Cheers, guys. By the way, cheers. Yeah, cheers to Kirby.
Cheers to Kirby and cheers to you guys. And all of the millions of viewers out there.
Around the world. You sound like The Rock. The millions and millions. And thanks, Mom, if you're watching. Thank you. Oh, and I give another shout out, dude. This cigar that you gave me, Tank, this is excellent, dude. This is a Macanudo, and I can't read the rest of it because I'm old.
Macanudo?
A gold label. Maybe you guys can read it.
Oh,
I don't know. It came with like a fancy ribbon and like this glass test tube. Really good. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right. So we got the Heat playing. What's up with the Panthers?
I think they play tonight too.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with them.
Let's check.
They're losing 2-0 the series.
Yeah. Last game, I didn't realize they lost 2-1, but they were tied, and I think they gave up that second goal like right at the end when they would have been about to go into overtime.
They play tomorrow at 1:30.
Oh, that's what it is. So they're not playing tonight. Okay. All right. Well, we have some other business to attend to later in the show. We're going to talk about the UFO Senate hearing a little bit. We're going to talk about the Navy a little bit. I'm hoping we'll have a guest, Chris, who was in the Navy, can maybe join in later, and we can talk to him about the desertions. Is that how you say that?
Just yes.
Okay. In the Navy. And then whatever else, dude. I don't know. Whatever else. I do want to talk about Sports Illustrated. We were talking about it before. Okay. There seems to be some confusion here. Let me see if I can share the camera. Who's on the cover of the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue? That's the question.
I'm not 100% sure, but I did see Kim Kardashian on a cover.
Okay. See, I saw this cover. Well, they don't even show the whole thing. Hold on.
That's probably better.
Here she is. You know who this is?
Mae Musk. No.
Yeah. She's covering her camel toe, apparently, with that little leaf. I don't know. This is Elon Musk's mom.
Jesus, Joseph and Mary.
Who is or was a model. I don't know, dude. Then I saw this one, too.
Is that
I don't know.
Yumi Nu?
Yumi Nu, yeah.
Wow.
And apparently, she's like the niece of that DJ that throws the cake, Aoki. You guys know this guy?
Yeah.
That's like her niece. And you guys know Jordan Peterson?
Heard him.
He made a comment on Twitter, hey, not beautiful. I don't care what you guys say. And like everybody went after him hard.
Okay, well, one thing, she's not ugly.
No, absolutely not.
No.
However,
and let's face it, she looks like more of the women that you see on a day-to-day basis versus the ones that usually are on this cover. Like it or not, she's closer to a real girl than what you see on the cover. Yes or no?
Of course.
And I'm not saying fantasy.
Well, I'm thinking like I can be on the cover of GQ now if I take my shirt off based on this.
Well, it would have to be a cover that would be.
Hey, I want to be the change you want to see, dude. I'm trying to fucking naturalize having a big beer belly.
It would have to be something soliciting that, yes.
Because, you know, kids used to jerk off to this magazine, I'm sure, you know, back in the day. I don't know. And then there's a Kardashian one too.
I saw one of Kim Kardashian in this kind of skin color bathing suit. I think that's it.
I guess, is there 3 covers? Is that maybe what there is? Okay, here's this. Where's Kim? I can't.
I think do they maybe put each of the participants in their own cover just so you could see what they look like, but there's only really one magazine cover, right?
I don't know. I've seen magazines that do multiple or regional covers, you know, maybe.
That's possible, yeah.
So they're sending this one to where there's like a lot of older people, probably.
Yeah.
That's the cover.
Like
They're sending this one to Latin neighborhoods, maybe. And then this one, they're sending these to the more urban neighborhoods, probably, I would say. Jesus, that's a whole lot of water behind her there.
Yeah, that's a lot of water.
How old is Kim Kardashian nowadays?
In their 40s, right?
40's like the new 30, though.
Well, if you're a bazillionaire.
She's 41.
Oh, wow. You know, if you would have told me she was like 45, I would have been like, yeah. And then, yeah, like last year they had like a trans model, not on the cover, but within the magazine. So this magazine has changed a lot throughout the days. You guys ever get Sports Illustrated?
I haven't in many, many years. There was a time that I used to have it.
I remember I used to get it. Like I begged my parents at one time to get it because like my cousin had it and I liked it and I got a couple issues, and then but then they would send me out the swimsuit one, dude. And I remember taking that on a field trip as a kid, and I was like, you know, we were there like looking at it, and the teacher came by, and she goes, "You're disgusting." Obviously, she was not like a very good looking. She was like an old, you know. She might have been 30 for all I know, but to me, I thought she was like 50 probably. I don't know. And she was like very like disappointed that I was checking it out.
I remember when I had it, a copy of it usually sat in the bathroom, right?
Yeah. Well, at that age, it's whatever you could get your hands on sometimes with.
And wait, let me clarify. I think maybe you're thinking something else.
You're talking about for the articles, obviously, right?
No, you know, when you're sitting on the throne and you have time to kill and you need to read something. That's what I meant.
Oh, I thought you were referring to the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue.
No, Sports Illustrated in general.
Okay, got you. Yeah, we're not on the same wavelength here, but
yeah, that's okay.
Anyways, sometimes it was hard to find material, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
You know, fucking Sears catalog could do it for you sometimes, you know, like.
No, it served its purpose.
But that magazine has changed. The world has changed. It almost seems like they have to do crazier shit now to like, hey, look at me. We're going to put a 78, I don't know how old that woman is on the cover, you know, like something like totally out of left field to like draw attention.
Well, they have to show that they're in with the times, right? That they're progressive and they're along with the readership that they think this way, and you know, they got to be in step with the times, man.
So it was like a down year for like truly hot chicks, is what we're saying. basically. How's the Heat doing?
I remember the ones I used to get where it was like the Pro Bowl of models. You know, it had Cindy Crawford, Kathy Ireland,
Oh, dude, my era was like
Elle
uh,
McPherson,
Christy Brinkley.
Steve Brinkley,
Uh,
name.
if you go back, like Cheryl Teagues was from like the
Yeah, well,
70s, I think, or maybe before that. Elle McPherson, Jesus. What up, Remo?
Nikki Taylor. What's up, man?
Jimmy's out for the game. Yeah, I saw they were only up by 10 right now, so
He's out for the game?
that's what Remo just said.
Oh, jeez. There goes our firepower.
Yeah, because they just got Lowry back, right?
Did they?
He's playing, right? He played tonight. He wasn't playing on Thursday.
Yeah, he had some injury.
All right. What else do we got? I'm trying to save the UFO stuff in case Chris joins us on the Navy stuff. Give my shout outs. Dude, have you guys heard about this controversy with Nick Saban and Deion Sanders?
I heard about it. I don't know all the details. And also, it's not only Deion Sanders. I think it's Jimbo Fisher, too.
I saw his name, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's Nick Saban throwing out the allegations.
I thought that it was Nick Saban complaining about the whole college players getting paid, and then those guys kind of going after him, saying something about him, and then. But I may be wrong. I didn't read all of it.
What I heard was Nick Saban. Well, it's weird because they did a commercial together, Saban and Sanders, primetime. That Nick Saban said that Deion Sanders and Jackson State University paid $1 million to one of their players to get him. And then Deion Sanders came on and said, "Dude, I don't even make $1 million."
I was gonna say Jackson State. I think if all the boosters gave top money, I don't think they'd have $1 million.
Dude, Saban is just mad because all those kids are going over there.
Dude,
the playing field is getting sort of leveled with that shit.
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, but like, yes, what Deion Sanders did at that school is cool. Yes, maybe, down the road, but like Alabama should not be like, complaining about, even it doesn't sound like it's fucking true anyways. Really? You got to complain about what they're doing down in Jackson State?
Who really complained before that? Dabble Sweeten was complaining about it.
But on that school?
No, just in general about the whole, the college players making money and what do they call it? You know what I'm saying?
I know what you mean. I don't know the name, but yeah.
He was complaining like a schoolgirl.
Yeah, I guess those are the people who complain because they were the ones that had the monopoly without paying people, and now,
Saban is fucking paying those kids.
Yeah, I think they had the monopoly in being able to pay because they had the money, and the other schools couldn't pay at all, and they have that monopoly. And now it's a lot more balanced. Whether your school makes a lot of money or not, you could pay.
Yeah, but I think this was different. I think they're saying like they paid this guy, which is not like they got an endorsement deal,
Right, like it's a direct cash payment.
Yeah,
Man, I'm sure that's been happening for years, man.
We know it's happened for years. Like there's documented cases. What those people had like at Clemson and Alabama is probably also like a pipeline. Hey, Belichick is my boy. I'll put in a good word for you. We'll get some pro workouts. You don't even got to be a starter all 4 years here. If you just do well 1 year here, you're probably you could end up being a first round pick or
Yeah,
all that shit.
And those really wealthy boosters, they have businesses and they can employ those players there. You know,
Yeah,
Dude,
100%.
I'm sure a lot of
Um,
it goes on.
Yeah, no, not Jackson State, dude. They're just like, it's impressive what they, did, but like, really, Saban, dude, that's who you're gonna fucking attack? Come on, dude.
He's scary.
Yeah, ridiculous. I hate that guy, dude. Nick Satan is the
I'd
devil.
have to agree. Not one of my favorite people.
Yeah, but I mean, shout out to Primetime. He came out and called him out. I didn't read the latest, but he fought back on all the accounts. And you guys gonna watch Top Gun?
I was reading about that. I think I sent you guys the article, man, or I told you I was reading it. I didn't realize that Val Kilmer couldn't like speak anymore.
I knew he was messed up. I didn't know he couldn't
No,
even talk.
I knew he couldn't. I knew he was messed up.
Yeah.
But apparently they took out his vocal cords and
Damn.
he can't speak. And they basically used this AI technology where they looked at his previous samplings of his voice and then created something where I think I don't know if he talks into it and the vibrations or something, but they're recreating his voice with this technology. And then they showed him talking without it, and he's got one of those things like talks like a
The thing they hold up to like their
yeah.
Most of those dudes with the hole in their throat.
Yeah.
He's got one of those holes in his throat.
I think he did, and that's why he started to wear like scarves. I don't know if you've seen a lot of pictures of him.
Yeah, I thought it was just like a COVID thing.
I think he had like a tracheotomy or something, and I don't know. I just felt bad. I really like Val Kilmer, man. Obviously, one of our favorite movies that we talk about, Tombstone. He that character, man. His Doc Holliday, freaking awesome.
He crushed it.
And some other good movies he's been in.
Yeah.
He's
in Top Gun, obviously.
Top Gun. He's got some good movies.
There's more that we're forgetting, but yeah.
Yes.
Top Gun. I thought Top Gun was Tom Cruise.
They're both in it.
He's the adversary.
He's
they kind of look alike, right?
No.
I think
is he the Iceman?
Yeah, he's the Iceman.
All right.
He's his nemesis.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess that just came out. I don't know if it just came out or it's coming out.
Tombstone.
They had a big shooting in Buffalo. There was a shooting in Chicago. I think there was one in California. It's like a ton of shootings everywhere, right?
Yeah.
And they were all like different racial, Asian, church, like all different kind of situations, or at least that the media pegged them to be.
Yeah, the Asian one is quite surprising. I've never heard of that scenario.
That's a new one, right?
Yeah, that was the one in California. Basically, I guess some Chinese folks were shot, or some Taiwanese folks shot some Chinese. Basically, it was all over the Chinese-Taiwan tensions.
Oh, really? I didn't know that part. Okay.
Yeah, that's what it was about.
So it was like Asian
on Asian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was Oriental on Oriental.
Yeah.
But it was like a one person was it was only one shooter?
That I don't remember.
Or was it like a gang?
But I did read that it was related to the Chinese-Taiwanese tension.
Where was that, in California?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're talking some quasi-political stuff. Joe Biden lifted some sanctions on Cuba. Do you know anything about this? like travel is going to be a little bit easier apparently, and you could send a little more money.
Yeah,
Is
I think
basically it.
I don't know if I sent you the article. He's also debating whether to invite them to this big meeting that's happened in Central America. I believe it's the meeting of the Americas or something like that. And he's
Yes.
contemplating letting them attend. And I think in the past they haven't been invited, obviously because of their human rights violations and some of the treatment of their people. So yeah, that's another spider web of crap.
How do you? Is it just like that party always is going to open relations with them, and then the other party's always going to close? Meaning the Democrats are always going to try to open relations with them, and the Republicans are always going to close relations with them. Is that pretty standard along if you go back in time?
That seems to be the pattern.
And would you say this is probably why a lot of Cubans, maybe less so now, but generally go Republican because of the whole political situation in Cuba?
Typically, it's because they feel that the conservative Republicans have a stronger stance on Cuba.
It's a slippery slope. It's kind of a, it sucks, right? To be from that country and then at the same time say fuck those people. They gotta, fuck you. You're really saying fuck the people in charge, but at the same time, everybody else is getting fucked too. That
Right.
has, but then at the same time, it hasn't worked till now. You don't want to help them and keep them there longer, but they're still fucking there.
Well, but that's the whole argument of the other side, right? That's saying that the embargo and some of the strict supposed, policy really hasn't changed anything. So why don't you open things up and at least let things flow to help the people? And maybe the people will start getting like, energized by, internet and money flowing in and new opportunities and things like that. And then maybe things will change that way. Because shutting things down has not really changed anything. Actually, that's probably one of the few regimes in all of the Cold War that still survived. It may be the only one.
I mean, you're using that survive word loosely. They're hanging on for dear
I'm
life.
saying the regime.
Yeah, no, but like they gotta be in bad shape, dude. I mean,
Well, the people at the top are never going to be in bad shape. They steal everything from the people, and
well,
people,
that's the reason why some people say don't send them money because they're just gonna steal that shit. That's what my dad. If you ask my dad, he's like, don't send a penny because they're gonna steal it.
No, I get it, and I'm just telling you the devil's advocate position, which says open it up, start like kind of what we did with Russia. Start dealing with them, start bringing in McDonald's and Western.
But they just have to sell them all, dude.
Western
right?
Western culture to put pressure on the government to change.
Well, that did not work. That's a bad example because they just had to sell all those McDonald's. They're invading Ukraine, and now we're sending them $40 billion.
But that happened nearly 35 years later. After they made Iran turn years later, right? And because they're trying to return back to the way they were. So it is justified.
I don't know. I like not dealing with terrorists, dude.
All right. Well,
it sucks, It sucks because there's family is there, and unfortunately, remember all that shit they did last year when they went out to the streets when people had it, that there wasn't medicine and there wasn't enough, the electricity was going off. Huh?
The Cuba SOS.
Yes. All those people that put all those videos on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube, people demonstrating in the streets with pots and pans and chanting, that they had never done that in I don't know, ever. They've never done that. All those fucking people are in jail now, dude, or dead. So they're probably never going to do that again. the answer is to get out, right? Like, what other option is there? What are you going to be, the one? You're going to be a fucking William Wallace, but by yourself, and just die because you want to, you know? Unfortunately, they cannot have a revolution. They don't have any fucking weapons. They don't have, and they've been in that system for, dude, if you're 63 years old, you've lived under basically Castro's regime your whole life. Think about that. Anybody who's 63 years old or younger doesn't know anything other than Castro there.
Yep.
That's amazing. I don't know, dude. I don't even know what the fucking happened there, dude. What the fucking even happened there? Like, there's no real solution. You think we should be sending 40 million to Ukraine?
I don't know. That's a complicated one, right? We have so many problems here, but you know, a lot of times, if history shows us one thing, it's really hard to stay not involved. Eventually, you get dragged into conflicts. You're better off sort of managing it at your terms than waiting until, you know, it comes to you unexpectedly.
I guess it just seems like we're pumping a lot of money there, where we have a lot of problems here.
Yeah.
We left a bunch of shit in Afghanistan, you know. Like,
well, you know,
sort of wish there was a way to drop all that shit off over there for them instead of just having left that and now we're going to give you a bunch of money.
Well, I guess this is the closest thing to a compromise we could have, right? Because in the past, we probably would have just gone in there, and nobody wants that anymore, right?
Well,
we sort of learned our lesson about not actually putting troops or, you know, our forces directly into the conflict. So if you're not going to do that, I guess the next best thing is providing some degree of support, right?
I guess, dude. And that shit looks like it's going to be a while.
Yeah, and I think, and it looks like eventually, I mean, Russia has a much larger military. I mean, even if they take heavy losses, eventually they could just grind it out.
Yes. By the way, the Heat is into the fourth quarter and they've stretched the lead back out to 15 again.
That's impressive if they win this game without Jimmy Buckets.
I'm not sure if he was out for the game. I know Remo said he was out. Did he say he was out for the game?
Yeah, with
out for the game.
I looked it up. It was like a inflamed knee or something.
But Kyle Lowry is in.
He's in, yeah.
He had been playing earlier.
He started.
Yes. And I think he was playing pretty good. You guys hear about that guy who landed the plane?
I did.
Yeah, I saw. That was impressive.
You think he could do that?
I probably, if the fear of dying is so much. You know what? I always say I would never go skydiving. But I do think that everybody that rides an airplane should get a parachute because let me tell you, if the plane's falling, skydiving doesn't sound bad.
There's probably a big cost involved in getting everybody a parachute and then testing them all the time.
I understand.
I mean, even a faulty parachute's better than no parachute, I guess.
Well, and here's the thing, you know, that's really a parachute's probably more in those level like private airplane where, you know, you're like 10,000 feet or under. You're not going to parachute at 35,000 feet.
Right. What's the typical parachuting?
Skydiving is like 5,000 or 6,000, I thought.
That's something I do want to do before I kick the
It
bucket.
costs $5,000 to skydive.
No, he's saying about the feet in the air.
I think it's somewhere between 5,000 and 10,000 feet. I think.
Oh, I was
Yeah.
about to say, dude. I thought that shit was like $300.
Yeah, it's probably a few hundred
Yeah,
bucks.
it's not that.
Somebody I know did it, and he had to sign like a shitload of papers. Like, hey, you could die, dude.
Yeah, the Iron Bum did it. Him and his
Oh,
wife. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not surprising.
Yeah. Did you see the guy that live streamed jumping out of a plane that supposedly stalled and he parachuted out of it and he got his pilot license? You may want to look it up, but he live streamed it and it was all a stunt. And I think they're taking his and obviously the plane then crashed, which is really screwed up. I think.
So this guy was flying by himself?
I think he was flying by himself. And he live streamed like aborting the airplane and jumping out. And I think they're like they sued him. They're taking his license.
Yeah, dude, that's like a projectile now.
But did you say that his airplane stalled or?
Supposedly, he made it seem, I think, like it stalled, but he was live streaming the whole thing.
How long ago was this?
Man, maybe a month or two ago.
I might have heard something about this. And yeah, the guy got in trouble. Do you know where he was?
No.
Yeah, because dude, if you're over like a city, that thing's gonna land on somebody's fucking house.
Yeah, it didn't look like he was. Yeah, he wasn't over the city. He wasn't that crazy.
But you don't know where that shit's gonna end up. Unless you're over the water, well, then you're gonna die too, probably.
Also, speaking of aviation, that last 737 that crashed in China, U.S. investigators now believe that it was done intentionally by the pilot.
Why?
There's been several of those.
They commit suicide and kill everybody else?
Pilots that have committed suicide?
And thus committing mass murder too?
Exactly.
Wow, why don't you just kill yourself, dude?
Exactly. Well, some, they think it's terrorist related, and others are just people
it's a video on YouTube.
Oh, really? They haven't taken it down?
No, it's just like the guy uploaded his video, and he's like recording. He has a camera on the plane, showing it crash, and then like another camera for him.
Yes, it's kind of fucked up, man.
Where does the plane crash?
It's like in a mountainous area.
Yeah, it looked mountainous, maybe forest.
Yeah.
Huh.
How long can you show a video for?
I don't know, dude. Every time I show any video, I get in trouble.
Because I can show you that clip of like the plane just crashing.
Yeah, go ahead, put it up. I'll share your screen. I don't give a fuck.
Let me. We're gonna get demonetized.
That's gonna cost. That's gonna hurt, dude.
Shit.
As long as they don't scare off the viewership, we'll be fine.
Right here. Alright, I'm sharing it. Alright, so like this is just a little clip of it.
Any way to make that bigger?
Yeah.
That's what she said.
That's what she said.
So he had like a camera on the wing or some shit, or on the back.
That's also expensive too, right? I mean, that plane costs money, it's not cheap.
And then right there, he jumped out. He's right here.
Oh, wow.
The plane's empty.
Huh. I mean, I don't remember the price. That plane's got to be like 50 G's at least.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah, something like that, man.
I think my friend bought one recently, and I think it was like 70.
Yeah, you could get some older ones, but
it was a prop plane.
Yeah, those things have a pretty bad safety record, man.
He's an airplane mechanic, though, so him and his dad.
I want one with two props and the pontoons so it can land in the water, or if one prop goes, you still got the other prop
That's the thing, though,
and a
right?
parachute.
The reason those things have a bad safety record is because of the maintenance. Like, there's not a ton of maintenance that's done on them. If he's a mechanic, that's pretty good.
Yeah. He saves a lot of money too.
Yeah, no, he saves a ton of money. That's probably the most expensive part about it.
Yes.
There has to be a lot of user error too.
Shout out to Jan, bro.
That's your boy?
Yeah. If you guys want to talk about planes, I could bring him on one day.
Oh hell yeah. Maybe
Yeah,
he'll take the bum for a ride.
That I won't do.
I'd be down to go with him somewhere. It's crazy to think.
A lot of people go to the
Fucking
Bahamas
bro.
and shit.
Yeah, Bahamas.
So a prop plane to the Bahamas, but it has the pontoons. You're gonna be pretty safe, right? I would feel totally fine going in a double prop plane with are they pontoons? Am I using the right terminology?
I guess so.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
The ones that land in the water, like Indiana Jones.
Seaplanes?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Remember,
I'd be down to do it, man. That's got to be cool, bro.
Hell yeah, dude.
remember the airline that flew right out of where the cruise ships are? It was called Chalks. It used to be in the Miami Vice. Only see it in Miami Vice. The seaplanes that would take off out of there. I think it was Chalks. Chalks Airline.
At one point, I started like thinking it'd be really cool, and I got into this YouTube channel of this couple, and they have one like it looks like that. Maybe later they got like a bigger one that they could take more people with them, and they just record all their their flights. They would take off from the Keys, go to Fort Myers, or wherever. They would go to all these little airports, and then you just hear all the. One of them was an air traffic controller in her regular day-to-day job, so all the little terminology that they use, and then they're looking at like, I'm at X amount of feet, and then there's somebody else up there. That's how they kind of keep all the air traffic control. And then they, like if they're close to Miami, they're talking to that guy, and then like they get into the airspace where the Fort Lauderdale guy starts telling them, what to do. The whole thing is kind of pretty cool the way they do it. And the chick was pretty hot, I remember too, which made the channel.
Oh, it's like my fishing shows that I watch.
Yeah, like it must be really cold inside that cabin sometimes, and they would use that to their advantage.
Yeah.
Thumbnails, like some picture like that,
Yeah.
would come out, but it was pretty fun. Can't remember the name of the channel.
Well, yeah, a lot of times it is user error, though, right?
I would like to see the numbers, but I bet
it's usually pilot error and a lot of stuff. But no, there's a ton of mechanical shit though too.
look at Kobe Bryant, dude. That's not we're talking helicopters now, but
Well, helicopters, forget it. Even
worse, right?
Especially those ones that fly in Hawaii or around the Grand Canyon. Terrible safety record.
Well, when you're dealing with mountainous or different elevations, it's got to be where it gets more dangerous.
Yeah, and if you look at what happened to Colby, Kobe's pilot,
Mm-hmm.
when they get that spatial displacement, basically they lose track of where the horizon is and if they're going up or down. And that's what happened to JFK Jr. too. That's like a big problem. When the pilot is not rated to fly without instruments, that tends to be an issue, because if you're in complete darkness or in complete cloud cover and you can't see which way is up or down, you'll usually crash.
You're kind of just winging it at that point, right?
Unless you're instrument rated, which means that you could be blindfolded. Well, not blindfolded. The windows could be completely blacked out, and you could fly the plane because you're going by the instruments.
So what would the thing be to do there? Like to stop the helicopter and chill in place until you can see, or like what would be the move? And that's what should that guy have done? That's what I'm saying.
Well, if you notice, like the flight radius, like his pattern, he kept trying to either dip down below the cloud cover to be able to see, or go up to go above it to be able to see. You saw that he was coming up and down like that to try to do that. They figured that's what he was trying to do. In one of those moments that he was going up and down, he just lost where he was. And then, what Tank said about the mountainous regions, that's a bad combination, man. Because even if you turn, and that's what happened, he took a deep turn thinking he knew where he was, and he slammed into the mountain because he couldn't see it.
And he probably couldn't tell that guy, hey, we're going to be late to your basketball game.
Yes.
Got to be some pressure right there. Like,
oh, imagine. And I am sure that a lot of those people, because I've seen some people at very high levels, they're nasty as shit, man. They will not take no for an answer. They'll threaten your job. They'll tell you suck. They'll, whatever. I need to get to where I'm going. Screw you. Let's go. And I believe that pilot I think he was only rated for visual flight. I don't think he was instrument rated.
That's surprising that Kobe Bryant wouldn't have like the fucking Mac Daddy of all fucking helicopter pilots.
And I think JFK was also visually rated and not instrument rated.
And visually impaired, probably would be my rating.
He was flying with a broken leg too. That doesn't probably help.
Kobe Bryant's pilot was flying with a broken leg?
No, John F. Jr.
Is this before or after he?
No, like during
crashed.
his last flight, he had a broken leg.
Probably had two broken legs at the end.
Well, at the end, he had more than a broken leg.
Did he die over water?
Yes, the plane crashed into the water.
Was he going to like the Bahamas or some shit?
No, he was going to a wedding in Martha's Vineyard from New York.
Which is another New England area, right?
Yes.
Oh, wow. But he could be back. They're expecting him still in Delaney Plaza.
Yes.
So he can be Trump's running mate for 2022. I saw where Fauci said he would quit if Trump gets reelected.
Yeah, I saw that.
Which I just think that's getting more votes for Trump. I don't know why he's coming out and saying that right now. He's inadvertently helping Trump. People are going to be like, oh, really? All right. We'll go vote for Trump then.
I've seen that guy almost like a child where he's just not getting enough attention anymore, and he seems...
Fauci or Trump?
No, Fauci. Like, he seems like a little... Damn.
He's like he's back into his fucking little Keebler elf tree. We haven't seen much of him. And yeah, he's probably has some sort of withdrawal. Like, dude, that guy was voted like the sexiest man of the year and shit. They were making little figures of him. People were saying prayers to him.
I'm not sure who. I know no one that, like, I don't know a lot of people that hated him, but I don't know anybody who loved him like that.
Well, that tells me who you're hanging around with.
No, but like, I don't know. There's just.
I think Karens were like his target audience. You know what I mean? Like people who would see you around, women who would see you around the pandemic. Put your mask on. Like those kind of people.
Yeah.
Aren't you wearing your mask? Those are the people probably who would buy his action figures.
Yeah. I don't know. And the people that I know, a lot of them are like hard right, and they just didn't listen to him.
But nobody hard right would be a fan of his.
No, but I think they were indifferent to him more. I saw more people indifferent to them than actually, we need to kill this guy.
There was a lot of people who didn't like him, or there still is, I should say. There's people who think he should be brought up on charges, which may happen, especially after the midterms. Seems like we've been talking about those midterms for like a long time already, right?
Well, as soon as the president is elected, and that's in January, and they're not for 2 years, so yeah.
Yeah. Anybody see the Avatar trailer? Way of the Water.
I have not.
It'll be out December 16th. Here's a couple little stats from the first movie, which I did see it Friday last night with the kids. So the OG movie from 2009 is the highest grossing film of all time.
The what?
Highest grossing film of all time.
I'm sorry, but which one?
Avatar, the original movie.
Okay, yeah.
Part 1.
I gotta tell you, I felt that the ride was a lot better than the movie.
I haven't been on the ride, but
The ride is amazing.
I was gonna say, I don't know if
movie-
that says the movie sucks or the ride's awesome.
The movie was okay for me. I know a lot of people love it.
I'm a fan. They have 4 sequels planned, with the final one coming in 2028. But I don't, they've been 13 years in the making for one sequel, so I don't know. It was supposed to be 2014, the original one, and here we are, 2022.
And is Cameron involved with this one?
I am not sure, dude. I would think so. Can you check that, Tank? It's James Cameron, right?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he is. We talked about this movie when we did the final.
What are you guys want to see? If he's what?
If he's the director or involved in these sequels.
Brackets.
Yes. We talked about this movie briefly. Somebody said it was a ripoff of something. You guys remember that?
I do remember that statement. I don't remember what the movie was.
I read that there's an anime from Ghibli Studios.
Yeah, he is the one that's directing Avatar too.
Okay.
Because he doesn't really make sequels, right?
He did right here it says Terminator 2.
Yeah, it was a Terminator, dude.
Terminator 2, he did, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're not gonna fucking do Titanic 2, bum.
No, but he's done other movies, right?
What else? What's his filmography? Let's
The
pull up his
Abyss.
filmography.
The Abyss.
Yeah, there wouldn't be a part 2 to that either.
No.
Piranha 2, The Spawning is his first movie.
Jesus.
Oh God! So he kicked off with a sequel that he didn't even do the original of. That wasn't even that great.
Did he do Aliens?
Yep.
But not Alien.
The first one. No, the first one was Ridley Scott.
That's
weird.
And did he do the
Oh,
first?
but he did Aliens and then Aliens of the Deep. Oh, but that's Disney. Never mind.
And did he do the first Terminator?
Yes.
He did 1 and 2, didn't he?
Yeah.
Okay.
He may have dropped out after 2, though.
Yeah.
Those start going downhill
Yeah.
after 2.
There's supposed to be an Avatar 3. It says here also.
Yeah, there's supposed to be 4 sequels, but I don't know if he's gonna do all of them.
It says he's here lined up for the next one and then 3.
Yeah, then that'll lead him right into retirement probably by the time he
Oh yeah.
finishes with that.
Some people say that Avatar is a ripoff of Dancing with Wolves.
I read that too. I've never seen Dances with Wolves.
I've seen it in the last couple of years for the very first time. It wasn't bad. Super long.
But I mean, there's a little bit, right? It's like they're totally. I mean, the gist would be, a guy from outside, an outsider, goes in and makes himself part of a clan. Okay, that part, right? But not everything else. Nor the way they do it.
It can't be exactly, right?
Oh, but I do. That's like saying The Godfather is a ripoff of, or Scarface is a ripoff of The Godfather. Oh, because they're both people doing illegal activities, and then it ends up bad for them. It's not like what was that time we had those two movies that both had to do with like asteroids hurling towards Earth, Deep
Oh, yeah.
Impact, and
Armageddon.
okay, those were both like the same movie. I don't think this is the scenario.
Armageddon is much more famous, though.
Yes, but the movies are very similar.
Yes, it has to do with an asteroid hitting the Earth.
Yes, it's a lot. It's a pretty big common theme there. I don't know. I thought it was cool, and I thought it's probably exactly what would happen if we found another planet that had something valuable. We'd be fucking killing all those natives and their fucking religion and all their shit just to get what we want. It's probably
Absolutely.
exactly.
Probably. By the way, speaking of asteroids, I think in the last week or so there was supposed to be a very big one that was supposed to come close to us.
Yeah, I read that too.
Five football fields.
That close?
No.
Oh, the size of it.
The size of it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I read that there's like a bunch of shit out there that they're tracking now, to make sure like that.
Once I started to read that, I gotta think that's probably the most likely cataclysm that would happen, right?
100%, dude.
That is complete dumbass luck, right?
Hey, man.
And that's gonna run out.
We are hurling on this fucking ball, and then there's shit out there coming from everywhere, and sooner or later, one of those. I mean, they do it. We do get shit that hits us, just not big enough to fucking totally fuck us. Isn't that what happened to the dinosaurs?
That's what they say.
If you believe in dinosaurs. I've listened to these guys, and I can't remember their names. They're like, what is their title? Geological. God damn it! I wish I could remember the name. They come on Rogan quite a bit.
Oh, geological historians?
Yeah, I don't know the name of the guys right now. If you mention it, I'll remember. It's a couple old guys, and they also study like ancient civilizations, specifically some in the Amazon, and
that would be anthropologists.
But they're not. What's the difference between that and archaeologists? They don't like actually dig and shit.
I think archaeologists like dig up the cities, the artifacts, the
bones.
Right, and I think the anthropologists study more the culture and the people.
Okay, these guys, they got their hands.
It's three guys, Randy?
Yeah, he usually has like three guys on. It's a heavy set guy.
Magicians of God?
Well, I don't think they have like a name. They've been on Rogan quite a bit.
They're not like Graham Hancock, Randall Carlson.
Yeah, Graham Hancock is one of them for sure.
And Michael Shermer.
Yeah. So those dudes, all those dudes, if you talk to them, they'll say, fuck global warming, fuck resources. What we need to be paying attention to is some shit that's going to come from outside and impact us, and that will totally fuck us. And we're so unprepared for that reality that, we're focusing on the wrong things.
Tank, what's their titles? Like, does it say they're a doctor of something?
No.
Yeah, these are not crate wackos.
Well, let me look them up individually.
Yeah, Graham Hancock, I know that guy. I think he's like published papers and like, but also I will say those three guys are by mainstream science sometimes considered like they'll put that fringe title name on them because they study shit underwater, monoliths, and they say that there's old civilizations in the Amazon that were just completely lost, and we don't even know why, and we don't know what kind of technology they had. And Gopeki, some shit in you guys heard of this? I'm saying the name wrong. It's like a big ass city that they dug up not too long ago. I'm gonna look it up so I don't talk out of my ass.
What was your question, Bum?
Like what's their title? Are they anthropologists, geologists? Does it say?
It says here all that he's a author and journalist.
Okay.
Gobekli.
It says he became known to a general audience through his pseudoscientific theories,
You see that pseudoscientific is like they're trying you, right?
pseudo history, yeah, pseudo archaeology.
I heard a podcast with Neil deGrasse the other day where he was telling people, and I think he says things like this to catch people's attention, right? He said that a
He
zombie,
likes to do that. He likes
yeah,
to.
a zombie apocalypse is likely. So, but when they started to talk to him about it, what he meant was he made parallels of what a zombie apocalypse, the main thing about the zombie apocalypse that is devastating is how everything shuts down, right? Like he was saying, the guys that work the electric plant get zombified, you lose electricity, and he started to go through the list of things. And he basically was making parallels that we got a taste of that during the pandemic. And even now, with supply chain issues and not getting things and shortages and things like that. And he's like trying to explain that just think about that at a super mass critical level. And that's really the bad part of a zombie apocalypse, that everything shuts down, right? And that was his parallel, right? But he likes to throw those things out to grab attention, and then
Fucking
you
clickbait.
know, then he
Yeah,
backs
I
off.
mean, I will tell you one thing about Neil Tyson deGrasse or deGrasse. How do you say his fucking name?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like a
something.
3-name. I don't know.
Neil Tyson deGrasse or Neil deGrasse Tyson. I can't remember his name. Also, on some memes, he's known as Black Science Man. I don't know if you ever seen that.
Yep.
You ever seen those memes?
Yeah.
He does like to hear the sound of his own voice. I have noticed that about him. There's an episode that he went on Rogan, and dude, he interrupts Rogan like nonstop. So like the whole episode, somebody made a clip, and he's like, Rogan's talking, and then boom, he interjects, and Rogan's like, and he's just getting like angry and angry. He just kept interrupting. He's
And by the way, this could be a segue. They asked him about the whole alien thing, and he said, "Listen, right now, a little cat with boots goes viral, and everybody sees it on TikTok and all these social media. There's 43 billion cell phone cameras, and there's not one damn picture, one real damn picture clearly showing an alien getting off of an aircraft or an aircraft itself or nothing." So he says until he sees something, he doesn't believe it. Does
okay.
he think it's possible? Absolutely. He just hasn't seen anything that makes him believe that they've been here.
All right. I don't want you to disrespect my boy over here, so I will
No,
say
no disrespect.
he's
Sorry.
cool. He's used to this. He's been on shows with Hialeah before. I will play devil's advocate to his comment that you just stated. We've been around for a long time, right? People, the planet, even longer. If you look at how long cell phones have been around, dude, it's a drop in the bucket. So if you're gonna, what if they came way before, dude? Nobody had a cell phone back then. All you have is cave drawings of some weird shit sometimes that some people interpret to be like, oh man, there's a guy with a space helmet on that looks like
Yeah.
there's some sort of ship, like so,
He also used the fact that there used to be a lot more stories of alien abductions, and he says that since the advent of the phone, those have dropped because now everybody carries a phone in their pocket, and there's almost no way that you could get away with, oh, I was abducted. What? You had a phone? You didn't take a picture? Damn it! You didn't live stream it?
I agree with that 100%, and 100%. There's a lot of bullshit. As much as I like talking about UFOs and aliens and all that, I've never been into the abduction part of it because I always thought like most of that was crap, dude. To be honest with you, you know. Now you'd have like metadata and maybe hell, you talk about Pampers enough, you're gonna get an ad for Pampers on your phone, So like they'd probably be able to listen to whatever happened to somebody at all times, even if you didn't record it on your fucking phone, right? Can they do that? Is your phone recording the whole time?
Recording?
Pretty much, right?
Oh, it's a GPS, yeah.
It's pinging.
Yes.
Do you believe any of those UFO stories?
Which ones?
Any at all of all the
Of the abductions or people just seeing them?
The abduction stories.
I have to tell you, the whole Barney and Betty seems pretty solid, man. And
it's probably the best one.
And the fact that those people are not like some kid, or those were pretty established people. I mean, they were an interracial couple, dude, in the 60s. Those people at that time probably did not want any kind of attention.
Mm-hmm. There's pros and cons.
They had plenty of negative attention being an interracial couple in that time in the 60s. I mean, that story sounds, pretty beefy, but, you could tear down every story, right?
Yeah. I mean, what that story has going for it, it's sort of like the prototype for like a bunch of other stories that came after, but that are like that story. But this is like the first one, So like, if a lot of those other stories, you could say, oh, they're just retelling the Betty and Barney Hill story, but they were the first ones.
Well, and not only that, but I think every abduction, most of the abductions are a single person. This is two people.
Yeah, there's a couple things too, if you want to tear it down. One, they had seen some movie had been televised a couple weeks ago that had some elements of their story in it, Two, they said there could have been some sort of mental, well, they didn't even use these terms back then, but some sort of mental health issue going on with them,
Yeah.
where they really believed that this happened to them, but maybe it didn't happen to them. Maybe they just blacked out.
But it's what makes this difficult compared to the other ones, again, is that it's two people. So if it's a mental kind of post-traumatic syndrome thing, it would have to have occurred to both people.
Yes, but they're living together as husband and wife.
I was thinking that.
If it was fake, they would both have to be obviously in cahoots, right?
I mean, it'd be more likely if it was like me in my car, and then I don't know Tank, and he's in another car on the other side of the road, and he got abducted too. That one's like, oh, it's two people now. They don't really know each other. But these were like a husband and wife. They probably had a lot of the same experiences, saw a lot of the same TV. I'm not saying the story's bullshit. I'm just playing the angles on. How about the one where they made the movie Fire in the Sky out of?
I don't know a lot of. I mean, I know about it, but I don't know like the specific details about that.
The guy's name, I think, is it Walton? The guy's name. The gist of his story is he was like working logging with these guys, and while they're logging, like over yonder, they see some light, and then he goes to sort of like investigate, and some light shines down, and everybody freaks out and leaves, and that thing supposedly takes him up, and he's on board, and then there's like a search party for him, and I don't remember if like a week or more later they Travis, what's up? We got Fabulous Freddy in the chat. Travis Walton is I believe the name of the guy. And then they actually Freddie had a UFO sighting one time too. They find him later. I could also say if it's a hoax, if he's kind of an outdoorsman, he could fucking hide in the woods for a week or whatever it was, But the guy's never really changed his stories. But he's also like on the con circuit, and goes around and sells books and like little things and shit like that. He's kind of made a career out of it, I guess you could say. So I don't know. The movie's cool. Fire in the Sky, if you've ever seen it.
Yeah, going back to the Betty and Barney thing, there's two things that I have to check back if it was ever substantiated that made that also kind of, impressive, right?
Mm-hmm.
One, they supposedly drew a star map that was super accurate and led them to some very specific area that was charted. And
is it the reticuli system or something like that?
I don't
Can you look that up, Tank? The star map that Betty and Barney Hill drew.
It was supposedly something that no one of common knowledge would be able to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing was, I think they found in one of them, I think it may have been Barney.
The Zeta Reticuli.
Okay, I'm gonna go back to that when the bum finishes.
Supposedly they found an unknown object in Barney.
In him?
In him. That they could not identify what it was.
Now, when you say unknown object,
it wasn't in his.
That's not what I'm saying, dude.
Okay.
Yeah, bro. What kind of object are you talking about?
It was like a piece of plastic inside of them, or unknown that they couldn't tell what it was.
Maybe something that they had investigated him, or what do they call that? What do doctors do?
Probe.
Yeah, or maybe not probe.
Inserted.
But they what does a doctor do to you when you go? What's it called?
What?
Examined. Maybe that's the word I was looking for. Maybe they examined him, or drew blood and left some little shit in him, something like that.
Or with some type of tracking device that they left behind.
Okay. So the Zeta Reticuli system.
Maybe he swallowed a straw.
But they said it was foreign, so like they didn't really know.
They could not identify what it was made out of, what it was, and how it got there.
Okay, which leads me to Bob Lazar. And
that's what I was thinking of.
Yeah, Bob Lazar, I do like his story, but he also brings up that Zeta Reticuli system in his story, which I found that kind of like convenient somehow, right? Or maybe those are the fucking aliens that have the ability to visit here from that area, because I think he mentioned, look this up if there's any link between Bob Lazar and this Zeta Reticuli system that Betty and Barney Hill mentioned or drew the star map up. I think he mentioned that he thought, or he was told, that the craft that he was working on came from there. And he also said, of course, for those that don't know, Bob Lazar is the guy who's claimed to work in an area from Area 51. I think it's S4, but it's within the same complex. And he says he tried to reverse engineer a craft that the government had him work on. But he says that he thinks it came from an archaeological dig.
Basically, he was the guy with the long hair, Data, from Star Trek Next Generation and Independence Day. Remember that guy that had the craft?
Yes, exactly.
He was that guy.
But the interesting thing about Bob Lazar is also never changed his story throughout all these years. Also worked with an element that he talked about. Element, I can't fucking remember the number right now. I've been drinking bourbon. I can't remember, but element, maybe you could look that up too, Tank. So he started talking about this element that was not on the
115.
115. Thank you, sir. was not on the periodic table until years later. Years later, it became an accepted element, and they put it on the table. But he had been talking about it possibly decades before that.
Dude, it says that um, in the 80s they told them in briefing that that's where the particular craft was recovered from or came
From where?
from the Zeta Reticuli.
And it was an archaeological dig,
That's what
not
he
a
said.
crash landing. Well, it crash landed a long time ago.
Right.
And they dug it up.
Yes. That was what he said.
Bob Lazar, this guy that we're talking about.
But it's curious that he also names that same system that they drew a star map
Yeah.
of. Right? Is that coincidence, or did he hear that story and he liked that story and he incorporated it into a story? Or are they both telling the truth? And is there just some fucking dope ass aliens from the Zeta Reticuli system that know how to fucking come here or came here before? Who the fuck knows?
I think that's another thing that kind of bothers me when I think about the alien thing is, okay, so you have the technology to travel millions of, maybe billions of miles to get here. And somehow you have to fly around here in a way that people could take pictures of you, and or like a regular aircraft traveling a bazillion times slower could see you and chase you. I don't know.
But we never got a good look at you, so you're staying pretty stealth.
But you would think you would be completely stuffed with that level of technology.
We don't know what they're working with.
Wow, look at that.
Yeah. Fred Gomez chipping in with the Unun Pentium Element 115. It sounds like a cologne or something.
But wait a minute. Aren't all elements on the periodic table located on Earth?
Yes. But it wasn't identified and on the table. I think it's the thing with this element. And in his studies, I believe that element had something to do with the propulsion system or something. And he was talking about it, but it wasn't like widely talked about or recognized. I think is the you could fact check me on that, Tank. I think that was at least his story. Actually, his boy who did the documentary with him, Jeremy Corbell, was like one of the forefront UFO guys. They mentioned him in the Senate hearings, which we're gonna get to in a minute. The other thing about Lazar is, dude, he was talking about Area 51 when like the government hadn't even really fully disclosed or recognized that even as a base. I think it's like a decade ago or slightly over a decade where they finally like said, yeah, that's a fucking military base we have there. Like it was top secret for not even recognized for a long time. Am I right about that? We talked about it, but I don't think they had ever like admitted it.
Like when did Area 51 really start to become, when did they really come out with that? Was it after Roswell or even way after that?
I don't know. I mean, you're older, dude, so you may know, but I would guess.
Dude, but not as old as Roswell, dude. That was like the 40s.
I thought you were involved in that. I'm sorry. I would have thought like shortly after Roswell, Area 51 started becoming a bigger thing with that. You know, there was like a kind of a craze after Roswell and, you know, the crash and Area 51 and all this shit. I don't know. But those Lazar and Betty and Barney Hill seem like some of the more credible ones. And there's a tie-in. Yeah, there's a little tie-in there with the map and the Zeta Reticuli system.
And one was released in what, early to mid 60s, was Barney and Betty Hill's experience, and then Lazar came out way after that, like in the 80s, right?
Yeah, like I believe it was mid 80s, maybe something like that.
How old is that guy now?
He's got to be 60 years old, I would guess, at
Right.
this point. He's really a very young man when he went to do that job. But what's weird is that they wiped out his records too, supposedly, and it's weird the government wouldn't talk to him now, you know. So maybe their stance is that he is just kind of a wacko or whatever, you know.
Yes.
Or it would be embarrassing for them to have to say, yes, we do have something, and yes, he worked here, and yes, we erased all his existence, and they'll never do that.
So it's a great segue to, and I didn't get to read all of the detail of the hearings. I think you looked at them probably a little bit more than I did. So where are we now? Where do we sit now after these hearings, and what's significant? Obviously, they didn't pull out a little green alien out of anywhere, but what is the most significant thing that came out of those hearings?
I was able to recover this guy, and they showed him. Dude, if it was like a dog and pony show for the people.
All right. I'm sorry. Hold on. Heat 1. It's a final 109, 103.
2-1, and that was in Boston, so
Yes.
that's good. All right, let's go Heat. So they had 2 meetings. One was the public one that we all got to see and hear about. And then they had a closed door meeting. That's the lit one. That's the one I would have fucking liked to see. So basically what they did is they kind of outlined a plan going forward, and they're going to set up like some centralized reporting and tracking, and they tried to make like an onus on like we're trying to lift the stigma off reporting this, but it seemed strictly focused on military people reporting and seeing this. Like they didn't really focus a lot on you seeing a UFO in your backyard or me driving, you know what I mean? Like,
well, there's a couple reasons I would think for that, right?
Yeah, they're going to be inundated with bullshit.
Well, but let's face it, right? Number one, the military is constantly out there, right? They're running missions, they're doing things. Plus, the people that are doing those missions are obviously more qualified, better trained, whether it's pilots, scientists, mechanics, whatever, than your common everyday Joe. So
yeah, instruments, recording devices,
understanding, atmospheric phenomenon, things like that.
So
I agree with Fred Gomez.
Yes, there's some things.
It's on the table now, right?
Yeah, there's some things pointing in the right direction, I guess. So, I mean, the gist of it is like we're gonna start paying attention more, but we can't really tell you much.
I think to me, the critical thing is that they're admitting that there are things out there that they don't know what they are.
Yeah, and I think they've probably kind of waited for other countries to also say that. Because they mentioned, China has their own sort of program. Other countries have their program. We share information with some. We don't with some. The guy his name is Ronald Moultrie. They call him Honorable Ronald Moultrie. I'm not sure. He's like a sci-fi fan too, which I found funny. And he even goes to conventions and stuff. He's him, and then there's another guy from the Navy who's sort of heading up this whole effort. But that was the gist, dude. Like, we're going to pay attention, but, like, of course, there's national security issues, so we can't tell you everything, which makes sense. They also asked them, like, so right now, that program is called, God damn it, I wrote it somewhere. I can't remember the name. AIMSOG. AOIMSG. I don't remember what it.
I thought it was ATIP.
That was a previous program.
Oh, the previous program.
Yeah, and then before ATIP was Project Blue Book.
Yeah.
And then there's a wide gap between the end of Blue Book and ATIP, and they asked them that, like, was there anything in between? And they said no, there's nothing in between, which I kind of found shocking. That they just totally. I think that's bullshit. I don't think somebody, maybe they didn't have a specific program, but somebody had to be looking at that shit. I would hope in the time in between. One question that caught my attention, they asked that guy Moultrie if they had any information on submerged or underwater, I guess UFOs flying, but stuff that was underwater that they could not identify. And he said very quickly, like almost right away, he goes, "We'll save that for the closed portion of the session." Like he didn't want to talk about that. So that led me to believe that there's probably like a lot of underwater shit too that we don't even know about. Because some people say underwater is even less explored than we've explored space in some cases.
No, that's a fact.
They also asked him if we've upgraded our defensive and offensive capabilities for these type of scenarios, and he wanted to save that for the closed session portion as well. So that was some of the things I found interesting. Also, he said that currently there was no deterrent for false reports of this type of activity.
What does that mean?
That means like if I make up some bullshit story that I saw a UFO and I send like some bullshit recording of some shit, like I don't have any. There's no consequences for me for making shit up, which I thought was weird. I mean, that's.
And I guess it came out also that a lot of military people, they think it's underreported because a lot of people, they believe, are afraid that it'll smear their record and their career if they come forward saying that they saw something.
Yeah, they mentioned that a lot, like that they want to get rid of that stigma and encourage people to report it, and they won't be laughed at or ridiculed. So there was one guy that I wish I knew who he was, and he asked both of them, because there was like senators and I think Congress and senators were there asking them questions, and he goes, "Do you have any information on?" I can't remember the specific case. Maybe you could check it, Tank. It's a case where some UFOs disabled some nuclear. I don't think it was a nuclear plant, but it was a military installation with some nuclear. I don't know what they had nuclear, to be honest with you. I don't remember.
It says, is it old?
It's in the last 5 years or something like that.
I see something from 2010.
Maybe that's it. What is it?
It says reports of unexplained lights in the sky near missile sites corresponded with mysterious shutdown of ICBMs.
Okay, and they were nuclear?
Yeah, ICBMs are like nukes, pretty much.
So he brought that up to them, and they said, "No, we haven't investigated that." And the guy goes, "This is a pretty big event that happened. I'm surprised that you have not looked into this." And the guy tried to play it off like, "Well, we can't look into everything that comes out in the media unless somebody tells us to." And the guy was just like shocked, like, "Man, our missile systems were incapacitated for at least a time by this thing that we don't know what it was." He said, "Well, I think I'm an official, and I think this is an official setting, and I would like to."
This little. Well, I guess it was a different one. Robert Hastings. I think he was. Oh, he's a UFO. Yeah, it says like 10 of them were disabled
In the same site?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a pretty famous incident. So the guy was like, "Hey, this is an official setting, and I'm gonna officially ask you guys to look into it. I think this is like a big deal. You should be investigating this." They did show like a footage of one UFO that I had never seen, which you see on the like on the side of the window of an airplane. Uh, it looks like a little tic tac, and then it just kind of zooms um, along.
That's crazy. That is a pretty fucking major thing. Huh?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they were being truthful or not. You never know. Like,
I mean, because even if it's not a UFO, it's something to look into. Right? It could be another country fucking disarming.
I mean, that's what I always tell Hialeah when he's like, "Ah, it's not little green man." I go, dude, whatever the fuck it is, we need to know, man. Maybe they're not going to tell me and you, but these guys need to know, and they need to be looking into it. You know, it's super important to know. You know, whether
that's another thing that with all the spy satellites that we have around that can see North Korea, like building nuclear weapons and all that, man, there's not one that's by some chance caught any of this stuff, taken a picture of this stuff. Doesn't that sound unlikely?
I understand what you're saying, but at the same time, if we're basing on something otherworldly, we don't even know what they're working with, man. You know what I mean? It's not like our systems now are built to like, oh, that's a hunk of metal flying over there. You know, okay, we got an airplane. You know, there's a bogey coming in, or you know, there's weather over there. You know, it's like things that we are familiar with and know how to look at. Who knows what they're fucking working with, dude? Is it a gas fucking thing? Is it
Right. That's fine.
Is it?
I get your point there. If it was that, but when you see those tic tac looking things,
Mm-hmm.
that's no gas. That's no cloaking. You know, that looks like an object.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get me wrong, with incredible maneuverability and, you know, all of this. Why couldn't they capture that? You know, the same thing that they got out of that cheap airplane camera. Why not a satellite? Why not some other system that we had watching the entire world?
The Hubble telescope.
Maybe they have it and they just don't want to share it with us yet.
I would think they do, and I think that's my point.
Yeah, I think that I was gonna say. I think that's the point he's trying to make.
Yeah.
That they would, if they had it, they would share it.
No,
That they have to have it. Like, there's no doubt.
But they're unwilling to share it.
I think so, because they can't explain it. Because they can't go and say, "Hey, we took a picture of this, and it's the."
Do you guys know what it is?
Whatever.
Right. Like,
So why release the Tic Tac gimbal Nimitz footage and have those guys kind of go out on a press tour and talk about that?
I think now it's because their own people, like maybe people that weren't in the super hush club, regular military guys have seen things, are starting to report it, and I think now it's kind of outside of their control of hiding everything.
Yeah, I mean that Commander Fravor guy, he said nobody ever told him not to talk about it. You know, nobody ever, you know, and I think it was like a lot of people had seen shit like that. So there was like stories going around, you know, like, hey man, there's some shit out there. You're probably gonna see.
I've seen it, dude.
Yeah. Don't be surprised, you know, we don't know what the fuck it is. And it had been happening, you know, it wasn't like he's not the only one. So I don't know. It's tough because I do get what they say, like we can't share everything with you guys, you know.
And it's even tougher for those people because a lot of places where military patrols, it's in the middle of fucking nowhere, where you actually, if there's any kind of atmospheric, spatial type event occurring, it looks a lot different than us seeing something here, like outside of our house. You know, in some of those places they patrol either in the middle of the darkness in the ocean or whatever. Anything in the sky looks a lot different than us just looking out the window.
Mm-hmm.
It's much more like I've heard it, like from the ships out there, they could see the the International Space Station like almost clear as day in the night sky
We
at
could see
certain
it.
times.
We could see it with our eyes.
We could see like a light,
Right.
but they could see a lot more of it in some of these places in the middle of nowhere, out on a ship, on a particular, position at a certain time of clarity. They see things in the sky like we don't see the sky.
Yeah. Another thing about the underwater shit that they didn't talk about it. One guy asked and he said save it for the closed door. That Tic Tac, I believe that thing came out of the water first, is where they first spotted it. So,
Well, and for years before, I remember there used to be a lot of sightings at what was called the Bermuda Triangle
mhm.
of, weird lights and curtains of lights and strange activity around there.
Aerial activity.
Yes. And what people used to say, there were objects near the water that would zoom out and leave. And that's back in the 70s and 80s.
You know what conspiracy theorist Eddie Bravo says about the Bermuda Triangle? He says that they created that whole myth, like don't go over there, your ship will get lost or people don't fly through there. He says that that's all bullshit, that they invented that sort of tale to keep people out of there because there is really fucking activity out there and there really is shit out there, but they don't want
I've heard
anybody.
that too. Yeah.
So I don't know, for whatever that's worth. I wonder if there's going to be some sort of UFO race, like who's going to figure this out first, if there's going to be like countries trying to, and then maybe they don't want to show their hand, maybe does somebody want to be the first to know what we're dealing with?
Absolutely.
And then maybe share or not share depending on if you're allies
who can
or
get
not.
to that technology first, right?
Or maybe we can fake discovery. Like we faked the moon landing. And then never find it again for 60 years.
We lost the technology. How to get there, dude?
I think there was a UFO sighting on one of the moon trips.
They saw something out the window.
Yes.
Yeah. You mentioned the space station. I think they said by 2030 they're gonna throw that shit in the water.
You mean it's gonna lose orbit and crash?
I think they're gonna intentionally
drop it in the water so that doesn't happen.
Well, they're moving on from it. I'm sure they could keep it in orbit if they wanted to, but I guess it's just at the end of its cycle. So I don't even know what they're working on, what they have after that. Is there a new space station in the works?
There has to be, right?
They have to have one.
You remember Mir? The Mir space station?
One.
That was the Russian one, and I think we would go on there too.
When I was young, there was Skylab.
Yeah, Skylab. That one didn't last long, right? 70s era?
Yeah. And I think it crashed in the 80s.
Yeah, the Mir one, I remember.
Or 90s?
Mir was 80s, 90s. And there was always like near fatal catastrophes on Mir, like they would crash into it or like a fire would fucking break out in it. It was kind of shoddy, but they always kind of averted major catastrophe with it.
Yeah, it says that that starting late 2024, they're gonna start sending modules up there that later on will like become like a free floating or a free flyer.
A new space station, basically.
I think that's what it's gonna be. That's not really what they're calling it, though.
Because from what I understand, like some of the major objectives supposedly for space is going back to the moon, setting up some sort of station that orbits the moon that can maybe be like a launching point to go to Mars or wherever they want to go. But shit always gets delayed. So I don't know. Hope it could be an interesting decade.
Yeah, Skylab was from 1973. It got launched in 1973 and it crashed in 1979.
There may have been a Skylab 2, if I'm not mistaken. Is that possible?
There was a Skylab 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah. And
But
then
those are the crews. That's not the. I think the crews would change numbers,
oh really? I thought there was multiple
but
stages.
but I think the apparatus itself was the same.
Dude, it's crazy, dude, if you think about it. Like think about your grandfather for a minute. And like shit that was going on when your grandfather was like walking the earth, which is not that long ago, right? If you think about your grandfather, I mean, my grandfather died, I don't know, less than 20 years ago. But when he's a kid, let's say when he's a kid, in the 1920s, right? Your grandfather's probably like a kid, the bum, in the 1920s. Your grandfather's still around, Jonas? I know one of your grandfathers passed.
Yeah, no, that's it.
How old was he? Do you know?
He was young, dude. I think he was like 65.
Okay, so maybe his dad, maybe your great grandfather, our grandfathers, 1920s. They probably could never imagine like some fucking we're sending shit to outer space and then we're gonna go fucking like stay in there, or we're gonna go fucking land on the moon. That shit's crazy, dude. If you think about it, it'd be interesting if they go back, which is the plan, right? I think we got to get off this rock.
At least we got to have options. That's for sure.
Yeah.
They did have, going back to the asteroid thing, because you said we're unprepared, and I'm not disputing that so much, but they did have a couple of trials to practice how to try to deflect one.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not sure exactly what that entailed.
I think we talked about it. It's a Deep Impact.
No, I don't mean the movie.
I thought that was like we
actually did some practices around that.
Oh, I thought we just
on what we would have to do that.
I thought we just had to send Bruce Willis out there.
No, that's Armageddon.
Guys, I'm out of here.
All right, bro.
See you guys.
All
right. Yeah, I know they have some systems to try to destroy some of these things. They have to have some weaponry, where they try to break it up into smaller pieces that are not as devastating, but I don't know if we're fully prepared for that, because you don't even know what it could be.
They shoot, basically, wouldn't the primary defense be shooting a missile?
Yeah, blowing that shit up.
But you would have to do that way out there. I don't think we have missiles that could just travel into space.
Well, we should.
We have missiles that go out of space and then come down.
Okay, but maybe we can set something. They have to have some weaponry on some satellites out there.
I did hear Russia created, like, they were practicing ways of disabling other the Russians ran a little experiment where they blew up, I think, a satellite to use it to fuck up other satellites, like the debris.
Right. Because there's a lot of fucking space junk out there, too.
Big time. So much that they have a separate division that tracks it all. Like a separate division of NASA and the military that just tracks every piece of space junk, because they have to tell the International Space Station to do course adjustments to make sure they avoid it.
Is that Space Force?
I don't think so. It has like some name of, not necessarily. You could explode a missile right next to the asteroid. The one to reach in and divert supposedly the ability exists.
That sounds plausible.
Fred Gomez has some good information here.
Yeah.
Do you know Fred?
Yes, dude. This is Freddie from the podcast, dude. Ogre.
Fred?
This is Ogre.
Oh, I didn't know his name was Fred Gomez.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
We all said what's up to him when he.
Okay. No, I heard you say. I didn't hear the ogre part. Never mind.
No, I don't think we used that moniker, but I just used it now to refresh your memory.
Well, now I'm refreshed. Thank you very much.
Yeah. And like I said, Fred had a UFO sighting one time, which he's not even a UFO fan. If we're talking the kind of stuff we like to talk about on this show often, he's more into the ghost part of it. Yeah, he's had some experiences.
Which you like to laugh at me a lot about.
It is one of my favorite pastimes.
Ghosts?
No, to laugh at you.
Yes.
In good fun, right?
Of course.
For my personal enjoyment.
Hey, I wouldn't have it any other way.
Well, here's the difference. I will never say, dare I say, 0% on almost anything, dude. Because the things we hear and see, not even in these realms, but in other places and things, it's like almost anything is possible, dude. Oh, Ben, I've been thinking about Ben. I'll probably have him on soon. He's into all, his main thing is the ghosts and stuff, but he's like into UFOs and
Gotta have him for Halloween, right?
oh yeah, he was here last Halloween. I'll probably, if he can come on, we'll have him for Halloween again. Maybe even before, it's only me. He's always a fun guest to have on the show. Shout out Ben from Central Utah Paranormal. I have an acquaintance. His son is actually going to school somewhere in Utah. Utah's a lot of Mormons, right?
Correct.
I confuse them with Amish, and they have nothing to do with each other.
Yeah,
right?
different parts of the country. The Amish are mostly in Pennsylvania, Dutch country.
Right.
The East Coast.
And what are the Mormons?
And
Is the Amish a religion? No, because they are.
I think that's I think they are religious. I don't think it's a specific religion. It's sort of like a way of life.
Fred, that's a sore subject. Thank you for bringing it up. I don't think I will be participating in fantasy football this year, to be honest with you. I think I'm going to hang up my virtual cleats this year. But I don't know much about either one of those two things. But the Amish kind of like live. Yeah, I was talking about our grandfathers in 1920 or whatever.
Yeah,
they kind of got stuck in that year, right? Basically,
right. They're still horse and buggy. I think they're anti-technology. That's kind of their thing. They still make all their clothes. All
they
that.
wear like the same clothes, almost like a uniform. Like they have one or two hats, either a straw hat or a felt hat, and like suspenders and a shirt and slacks for the men, and the women wear like one colored dress, sometimes with an apron and a bonnet. And like if you wear a white bonnet, I think that means you're single. And a black.
It is a religion. The Amish are a Christian group in North America. The term refers primarily to the old order of Amish Maronite Church.
So if you say you're Amish, you belong to the Amish religion. But you also belong, obviously, to the Amish lifestyle, which is dictated by that religion, right?
Yes.
It must be fucking weird, dude. Especially like in Pennsylvania, where a lot of them are. They live in proximity to regular folk. The English, they call them, because they're like German descent, right? The Amish.
And a lot of them look like this. Could you see that?
Yeah, they don't shave their beards at all. They don't trim their beards.
What made you think that?
I think Jonas may be Amish.
Amish.
Yeah, but they do have they have something called Rumspringa. You ever heard of that?
Beard cutting is a religious matter.
Yeah, I think it's like an offense. Like if I cut your beard and you're Amish, like that's like a serious fucking offense, dude. Yeah, for sure. And
it's still out there.
Yeah, Voyager's still out there sending like barely some signals back. I think one of them, there was Voyager 1 and 2, right?
There's both of them were launched in the 70s. I think they're still out there.
Yeah. Well, I think one is disabled at this point.
Is it?
Yeah, I believe so. They took different trajectories.
One they were talking about it, I think this week, that they were afraid that they had lost it, but they were able to make some course corrections and it's sending information now.
Yes, but I believe they predict it won't last much longer. Like it's in the beginning it was able to send several different type of signals, and now it's like just one. There's a pretty cool documentary on it, or show, or movie. I don't. It's called the Furthest Traveler or some shit like that, or yeah, something like that. And
because originally it was supposed to chart our solar system, and now it's out of our solar system.
Yeah, it passed the Kuiper belt, is it? I think it went beyond that, and they both went to like different sections, and one, I believe, if I remember correctly, is already out of commission. It's still going, but it's not sending back.
So my understanding is that all these probes basically have two propulsion systems, right?
Mm-hmm.
They have, which they never really talk specifics of, they refer to it. They have some type of nuclear reactor on them. Plus, then they have solar panels to get solar energy to charge certain batteries on there. But the whole way, the primary way that they still have energy is because supposedly they have like a nuclear core, or some type of radioactive material that provides fuel to them.
Look, I'm no rocket scientist. Yeah, I don't understand much of this stuff, but I think there's also something to do with like if it's going a certain speed, like it continues somehow under its own, without expending energy, like it's still, that's why they do like a lot of slingshot shit around.
Yes, I was just going to mention a lot of, especially when they were getting to the moon, had to do with gathering a certain, I think they call it the escape velocity, getting to a certain speed, using the gravity to then shoot across. And I think what you're talking about is the ongoing kinetic energy.
Yes.
It's constantly moving. It really can't stop.
Yeah, and they use those, I think they call them slingshot maneuvers, to like gather up more energy to like gain enough speed. And I think they did that around multiple celestial bodies. I don't know if I'm using the right term, and that somehow, but I think about those things sometimes when we talk about, unidentified objects around us or shit like that. And I do think that they've tracked where these things will end up in the future, even though they're not relaying information based on their course, that it would be a long time before they pass through identified inhabitable planet. But maybe at some point those things pass by somewhere where there are some sort of intelligent life, and then guess what? That's a fucking UFO from Earth. It's not manned, but it's some shit that they probably don't know what the fuck it is. They don't know where it came from, and maybe at some point somebody sees that shit. So
yeah, maybe the Tic Tac is their version of Voyager that they sent over here, and it's just getting here.
yeah, and who's to say that space is so vast, and if there is anything coming here, it could just be the infancy of exploration for whoever is, sending anything here, whether manned or unmanned or whatever.
Yeah, or it's like in Empire Strikes Back when Vader's shooting all those probes out.
Yeah. What are those called?
Like killer droids.
Something droid. So who's to say? We don't fucking know, dude. Do you think there will ever be some answers in our lifetime?
You know what? I think the way things are going, it seems like things that used to be far-fetched are actually happening. So I feel like we're definitely going to have more information. I don't know if we're going to have the smoking gun in our lifetime, but I think we're going to have more and more information.
It seems to be like 50 years before they're comfortable sharing shit. So maybe before we kick the bucket.
It seems like a lot of things that maybe seemed, maybe like a pandemic, right? That hadn't happened in a really long time, right? It finally the probabilities, the odds finally came to that, right? So it's very likely that things that we haven't seen, which include a lot of bad things, are likely to be seen because it's just probability and odds, right?
Yeah, or maybe even another country coming out and finding something would be. It's a global issue, I would say. Like fuck, dude. I remember that famous Reagan speech that he gave at one time when the world was, it was a Cold War was going on, and he said, "Wouldn't it be?" I'm paraphrasing, but he said, wouldn't there be anything better than some sort of alien entity to bring us all together? Sort of like in the Independence Day, everybody got together. Like that's not like a Russia, China, dude. If there's some fucking, let's say they're hostile, that's a fucking world problem, dude. That's not a
no, absolutely
USA, China, Russia, issue. So I don't know.
It's great to think about it. And
what about the Navy, dude? What's going on with the Navy?
Oh my God. I don't know, man, but I really respect the people in the armed forces and what they do. I don't know, man, but every time that there's like some story about them or something like that, and what they do, we sort of find out that they're not treated always the best, man.
Well, I was hoping to have Chris here, who served in the Navy, but he couldn't make it tonight to sort of talk about this. You brought it up the other day to me, which really, what the only thing I had about the Navy besides that in my notes the other day, that there was a woman, and she was the first woman in charge of an aircraft carrier. Did you hear about this?
Yes. So
that came out in the news. I don't know if that was a whitewashing to this other issue. It's always when there's bad press, they try to clean it up with some, good press or whatever.
I forgot the aircraft carrier that first. There were like 3 suicides on this one aircraft carrier within a matter of weeks of each other.
So it's a twofold You're right. Suicides and desertions.
Yes, there's kind of two reports that I've seen. The one is on desertion, and then there was like three suicides within a matter of weeks, all on the same aircraft carrier, which I think is being retrofitted, and the conditions on board are. They interviewed some people, most of them like in, like with the blacked out camera because they wanted to hide their identity. Um, and man, they were talking about the conditions on there just being horrible. And they showed pictures of like fucked up bathrooms and dirty areas, and they were saying they would run out of food for days at a time. And I'm like, wow, man. It every time I hear these stories about the military and like screwing these people that are, doing a very noble thing, that really fucking sucks, man.
Yeah, because even if all those conditions were being met, right? You had clean facilities, you had enough food. Still pretty fucking tough to be doing that job, and you're in these like tight quarters out in the middle of nowhere in the water, with kids, really. We're talking
They really are.
18,
I think
19.
people really don't realize that.
No, and then you are classified as an adult. You could go fucking fight, die, kill, but you can't even have a beer in some cases, legally, some of these guys. And I think about when I was 18 or 19 or 20, 21, even 25, I had fucking shit inside my head, dude.
Yeah.
And
Well, they do drink because they show you could drink with your military ID, but I think that trumps that. But
okay, fair enough. I'm just saying, like,
I know your point.
yeah, in general society,
Yes,
they're not supposed to be or whatever, at least in this country.
they can't
Yeah.
even buy a handgun, which they're carrying and shooting at people.
Right. And then, you're going to ask that guy or girl or, whatever, to go out and, you may get into some conflict here and you got to be in this small space. Jesus Christ, with a bunch of other people you never met. And, it's just, that's fucking tough, man.
Yeah, but it bothers me because that in itself is tough, just what you described, right? But it bothers me when I hear that there was a death or deaths because of substandard equipment or poor conditions.
That's unacceptable.
Yeah, man. Not for this country. I mean, there was another report about there were like I think 8 or 12 Marines that died in a vehicle that got. It's like those vehicles that come on shore. They're amphibious or supposedly amphibious, but like one in a training session. That's another thing. A lot of personnel die in training sessions. A ton.
What happened with this? They thought it was amphibious and it really wasn't?
Well, no, it was some type of amphibious craft, and it got filled up with water and fucking sank, and they all died.
Jesus Christ!
And then later, they had the parents talking about that they were, the kids were writing to them that the equipment was like old and falling apart, and the hatches wouldn't seal correctly, and all. And you hear that shit, and you go. And I know there's people say, "Oh, that's just them. They're trying to sue the government, or they're trying to get money." And there's probably some of that, right? But man, there's a lot of indication that a lot of this crap is not well maintained, or is old, or fucked up, or
there's definitely shady shit in the military. One of those informants to WikiLeaks, he blew the whistle on a bunch of fucked up shit that we're doing. Remember, this guy actually ended up being transgender too. I think. Do you remember the guy I'm talking about?
Oh yes.
Now
Yeah,
he's
he actually he defected, right? He
Well-
ran it. He crossed into another country. He left his post.
this guy was arrested and he was finally here. I know that. And then they ended up
He
releasing him.
traded for him, I think.
I don't know if we're talking about the same guy.
Oh man, I'm thinking about somebody that was in Afghanistan. I think there were.
I believe he was in Afghanistan.
And he fucking left his post and surrendered to the Afghanistans.
This is not the same guy. The
and
guy I'm
then-
talking about was connected to Assange, and he was feeding him information for a long time about fucked up shit that the military was involved in.
And then I think we traded for him, like we did a prisoner exchange, just then to try him here.
possibly
What was
she's
that?
out now. Yeah, look into it. I don't remember the guy. The guy. Well, now it's a girl. I believe he ended up talking. He got turned in. Actually, he was talking not to Assange but to another guy. I saw this on a documentary. We're going off the rails here, but anyways, I think throughout the history of the military, there's always been fucking shady shit going on, to the extent that the people, the privates and basic guys don't even know, they're just a pawn in the whole fucking scheme of shit that's going on.
Yeah, what was that guy's name?
Well, he's now as a woman now, trans woman.
Yeah.
Which, did you see that Disney now has an LGBTQ and the rest of the alphabet line targeted towards children? That's so fucked up, man.
Yeah, that one.
Are they just trying to piss off DeSantis even more by doing that?
That's not hard to do, man. But man, they seem to have gotten so overboard with all that.
Like, do you remember movies in the 80s where, like, there wasn't very, we may have gone too extreme. Like, there wasn't very many minorities. It was all mostly like white. Everybody was white in every movie.
Yeah, and every minority was stereotyped and made fun of.
Right. It was like a token Hispanic, or, like there was always like and then fast forward 40 years, now it's like, even if you see a commercial on TV, dude, it's like, oh, here's a dinner party with 5 couples and 2 out of the 5 are gay couples. Like, I don't know, dude. What are you doing, NBC? Is that really accurate representation of real life? And the other 3 are like, maybe one is interracial and the other one is, Latino. Like, now they've gone like no white people in any of their advertisements. It's like a real. It might have been a concerted effort on both times. A concerted effort back then to like only put white people prominently, and now to put every other type of creed, gender, background into the commercials.
Yeah, no doubt. There's they're trying to make make that wrong, very exaggerated, in an exaggerated way, right again,
Yes, it's a little bit too obvious, though. I think
The
they
course
need to.
correction is super aggressive.
Yeah. It's a little too much. It's almost unbelievable what they're trying to pass off as normal, Have you watched any of the Johnny Depp Amber Heard this week?
More at the beginning, not so much recently.
It's tailed off a little bit.
Yeah, that's pretty much done though, right? What was that?
I'm hoping they're fireworks, dude, or light artillery fire from my neighbor. I'm not sure.
Wow.
Yeah, somebody's going off, dude. Certainly sounds like fireworks, though. I think it's over now. Well, they might call Johnny Depp back on the stand, which may be interesting. But I think they said they will not call Franco on the stand, and they will not call Elon Musk on the stand. All right, I had those fireworks lined up for the end of the show. I wasn't expecting them to go.
Wow, that's quite a way of doing that. Man, that sounds loud.
I think I'm under attack, honestly, is what I think is going on here, dude.
Yeah, it's funny. I was talking to somebody who's like very liberal, and it's so funny how they're, normally they would be all over the woman and supportive of the woman, anti-man. Johnny Depp he's actually like won, I think, a lot of people's thinking and hearts in this thing. And I just think it's because he's a better actor.
It's funny because one of the things
women are saying, like, yeah, she's a witch and this and that.
Dude, I haven't met one person, which, I'm not saying he did or he didn't. I don't know, but I haven't met one person that's been like, oh my God, poor woman, because like almost everything she's said or done has been either debunked or just sounds fucking crazy, dude. I think he's gonna, whether he wins the money or wins the case or not, he might win his career back. Yes. But hey, dude, don't fucking remarry Johnny Depp, dude. Just go get ripped all the time if that's what you're into. But don't put yourself through that, bro. Go have get a girlfriend if you want, dude. But I don't think that's the best move for him at this point because he seems like he just wants to be ripped all the time or be able to do whatever he wants all the time. And like at this point in his life and career, like if he gets a woman that likes to do that, they're probably going to both be dead. And if he gets a woman that doesn't want him to do that, he's going to end up probably like in a similar spot than he is right now. But he's probably figured that out all on his own.
Yeah, he definitely has a chaotic life. There's no doubt about that.
I mean, he seemed to have gotten into everything that you can get into at any point in his life, and sometimes multiple of those things at the same time.
But it seems like, for whatever reason, not a lot of sympathy from women.
For her?
Yeah, the whole case. Usually these things end up people jump to support the woman blindly, and the guy.
I think that happened. Yeah, that happened initially, but then as time has passed, I think people have started to realize that she's fucking pretty bad herself. And then like even women who are legitimately abused at some point in their life are like, this is a fucking insult to what I went through, that she's fucking making shit up, How about, she's posting these pictures with like a little, what looks like to be a pimple on her face. And, meanwhile, you see a picture of a woman that was really fucking beaten and she's like, her nose is really broken and she's got black eyes and she's fucked up. And I can see where they take that as an insult to women who were really abused, where it's like, fuck, this is bullshit. But that distraction should wrap up soon already. That one's been fucking going on for a while, dude.
Yeah, where is that? I mean, they did their final arguments or whatever?
Not yet. I think the defense is probably going to finish their shit this week, and then I think they have like recalls where they can recall witnesses that were already on, and then I guess the closing arguments would be at that point. What I'm not sure is if the jury just has to be a majority, not unlike a criminal case where it has to be unanimous.
No, I think in criminal it's a shadow of a doubt.
But it has to be unanimous. All the jurors have to
And it
agree.
has to be a reasonable, if you have reasonable doubt, you don't convict.
Right. If
It
the
has
glove
to
does
be
not fit,
unanimous.
you cannot acquit,
think
or you must acquit.
The classification for civil is the preponderance of evidence, I think.
But does it have to be unanimous?
I don't think so.
It's just a majority.
It may be. It has a different, guideline, should I say, to convict. I'm still trying to find that person. The person that I was thinking of was Bo Bergdahl. This is the guy that left his post in Afghanistan, went missing, and he was with the Taliban. And then Obama ended up trading him back and then charged him with desertion and a bunch of shit.
What's the person's name?
Bo Bergdahl, but I don't think he was trans.
No.
But I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. No. This is not the guy. 100% not the guy. I'll look it up.
I could see his face. He was kind of a smallish guy to begin with. So
this person's name is Chelsea Manning.
There it is, Chelsea Manning.
Yeah, which is the name right now, but he was born Bradley Edward Manning. And this guy was, I believe,
she's an activist and a whistleblower.
There you go.
At least that's what they want to call her.
Obama commuted their sentence, her sentence. Was charged with 22 offenses, including aiding the enemy, which was the most serious charge and could have resulted in a death sentence. So the Iraq war logs were this person's thing, and the Afghan war diary. And that material was published by WikiLeaks. Okay, this is the one where he provided recordings of an airstrike on civilians.
Yeah.
Where they're talking while they're shooting, and they're just like shooting civilians, knowing what they're doing. I think that was one of the main or most shocking things that they shared.
What's your take on Julian Assange and that whole WikiLeaks and all that? There's a lot of shit we would never know about if it wasn't for some of that. The flip side of that is that guy's a traitor. He puts people's lives at risk. He's certainly not pro-military.
Yeah, when you get into the whole Assange and Snowden and those kind of things,
another one.
Yeah, it's a slippery slope, because how much are you bringing shit to light, and how much are you being a traitor, or where do you draw that line? And it's tough, because you don't want to be a traitor, and you don't want to support a traitor, but also when there's fucked up shit going on,
somebody has to come out.
Yeah, somebody has to be the one to say something about it. I'd have to study more on both of them, but I don't like to take a hard stance on those things, because they're not lying, probably. I don't think
a lot of things they're not. No.
Yeah, they're certainly not being accused of being liars most of the time, right?
Not for the most part.
I look at, when I look at Canseco, taking it to a sports analogy, is he a rat? Did he fucking rat people out and shit? Did he talk a lot of shit? Yes. Was he lying about it?
Mostly not.
Nope. Most of that shit has been proven fucking absolutely just the way he fucking said it was before it was. You know, and did he do it for personal gain or whatever? That's another conversation, right? But like, did it end up having an effect on baseball and all that? Yeah, it sure did. So, I don't know. There's always two ways to look at that shit. I like to look at the whole fucking thing and pick out, you know.
Because we would have never really known all of the things that happened in the Vietnam War if it wasn't for the Pentagon Papers that came out, which was basically like a leak of information very similar to the Julian Assange thing. And that was vital to understanding, you know, really what was going on with the Vietnam War and some of the lies that we were being told and all that.
What's the main thing? I'm not educated on that scenario. What's the main things that came out of that?
On
The
the
Vietnam
Pentagon Papers.
Yeah, Pentagon Papers, sorry.
I mean, just really, you know, the targeting of civilians, the dealing with, you know, corrupt South Vietnamese operatives. I mean, just everything that was wrong about the Vietnam War, you know, like all of the corruption, the decisions, you know, the backstories, the things that we were really worried about, you know, not getting out. It really just were all the sort of all the secrets, right?
You know, when I think of
it's
those
sort
type
of like how we lost our innocence in a way between that and the JFK shooting.
Yeah, on close proximity. Well, hey, we went to the moon, dude. Forget about all that. We went to the moon. When I think of those sort of leaks, whether it be these WikiLeaks or Snowden or these Pentagon Papers you're talking about, or you know, even Nixon having to resign because of the stuff that came out. I think, what percentage of the fucked up shit that happens do we even fucking know about? Because if that got leaked, then there's probably like a whole 90 something percent of other shit that's fucked up that we don't even know about. Nobody's ever going to find out about.
Yeah, those papers showed that the Johnson administration was lying to the American people, that it was enlarging the scope of the war purposely, you know, manufacturing crises that we had no business being in. You know, basically the narrative that we were being told was completely a lie.
Do you think there'll be some pandemic papers coming down the line?
Oh, I think there'll be plenty on the pandemic.
Like shit that comes out later?
I think what will come out there, well, let me rephrase it. I am sure what's going to come out for sure is the level of incompetency in two separate administrations.
But that's almost like the least of the offenses, I would say.
But
that's like a cop out.
But I think
right?
it's gonna be definitely what comes out. You know, there are things that are too far stretched depending on how far you want to go, whether it's satellite chips or mind control or profit or any of those things, right? Those are really far-fetched. I would doubt that something like that would come out. But what's going to come out is that we were woefully unprepared, spanning two different administration, and all of the mistakes that were done, I think, is going to be clear.
How about like some sort of repercussions for pharma and maybe some shit that we find out that was like not really the way they said?
From who?
Pharma.
That wouldn't be a shock. There's plenty of pharma thing all the time, right?
Yeah.
We know their history.
It's usually like a decade behind though, you know, or more. You know, like the opioid crisis, which is still ongoing. Like that that came to mainstream like after it had been more than a decade.
Dude, in my spam email every day I get class action to Xanax users. You know,
I get
this
Roundup a lot.
Roundup too, but this company lied about scientific studies that said that Zantac, would give you liver cancer, and they hid those studies, and they doctored their clinical studies, and that's constant. So that will be, to me, and to a lot of people, I don't they have stayed with that a little bit over time, looking at it. I guess if you never looked at pharmaceuticals history,
Hmm.
you'd be shocked by what they do about the pandemic and the virus and all that. But they have such a long history of that, and it's constant.
Well, yeah. What surprised me more than anything with this um, was the scope of it. You know, where like OxyContin, OxyContin, like not everybody was taking OxyContin. You know, that was like people who suffered from pain. You know, things like that. You know, it's not like toilet paper. You know, hey, we all got to use toilet paper. You know, but the vaccine was, and you know, I'm not saying that the vaccine is completely a fraud, but I'm saying if something comes down the pipe with vaccines, the scope of it would probably be one of the biggest of all their products ever, as far as like everybody was being told to take the vaccine, right? Basically.
I don't know. There was a lot of people dying from opiates. There still are a lot of people
Yes, and
that
apparently,
were
I mean,
addicted.
even Johnny Depp was hooked to. Apparently, it's like one of the hardest. Like you get off of it, but you die trying to
Not
do it.
only that, but they uncovered that they were providing guidance, the pharmaceutical reps providing guidance to the doctors of a pay for play scam of, hey, you know what, you need to push this, and internal documents saying that, on one side they figured out through their testing that it was highly addictive and that it shouldn't be used in a certain way, yet on their marketing and sales front it was completely different. I mean, I don't know if there the I don't know if there's something that's pretty bad. I mean, how much worse could you get than that?
If anybody out there wants to see a good show about this, check out Dope Sick, and I believe that's on Netflix. Stars Michael Keaton and I can't remember any of the other. Oh, Rosario Dawson is in it too. Um, she's a crush of mine. But it just takes you through that whole OxyContin, Purdue, uh, Pharma, I think is their name, which I don't even think they're in business anymore. But I think you still can get OxyContin. I think people still take that.
Yeah, those things haven't been banned. They've tried to put more controls on it now that it's become so known, but it's still out there.
Yeah, like I have a friend who has a. You met him before. He's missing a limb in his leg, and he takes that for pain. And I'm always like, dude, you know, watch out because it's very easy to get hooked on them, and then like you always need more.
I worked with a guy who had some back surgery and they gave him that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started to see him miss work like more frequently. And then one time somebody told me, oh, yeah, like he's on a leave of
Mm.
When he came back, he basically said, "Yeah, man, I got super, like, my back was after my surgery, it hurted like crazy. I started to take this, but as my real pain went away, like my need to still take them increased."
Yeah,
And then
they show you in the show where like they may have overcome their injury, but now they're fucking hooked, and they
yes,
become like a crackhead basically, where they physically need that,
yes,
and then even they stop and they try to do other things to stop, and like it makes that's why they call it dope sick. It makes them feel so bad to not have it that they
yeah, it's
have to.
withdrawals, just like heroin or anything else.
Yeah, but apparently just so fucking severe. It's fucking sad, dude. Dope sick.
Yeah, and nobody ever really talks about, people talk about illegal illicit drugs and that trade. Nobody talks about the prescription drug.
No, I mean, like seriously, if they were now to give you an option, and they were to say, uh, marijuana, cocaine, oxycontin, fentanyl, you would say, give me the cocaine, because more people died of fentanyl, I think, than anything else, than any other, and then probably more people are fucked up on the oxycontin than probably any of those other ones. So what are we really controlling, and what are we really,
Yeah.
telling you not to do?
And then on top of that, if at least you said, well, you know what, it was super addictive, but we really weren't sure, bullshit.
They
They
knew.
absolutely knew.
Yeah.
And there's documentation that supports that. And there's documentation that they developed their marketing and sales tactics to really push it because they knew it was addictive.
Yeah, and their solution, what happened to a lot of these people is the dosage that they got initially wouldn't get them like through the night. Like they'd start feeling pain again before they wake up. So if they started you at 10, 20, now you take 20. Oh, we come in the market with the 50 milligram pill. Oh, now we have the 100 milligram pill, and they would create these false narratives where it something was happening to you and that's why you needed to take more. It's not a problem with the pill, and then they were just getting them more and more hooked.
To the point that, like no other medicine ever, it generated these pain clinics that were just really illegal doping stations
Mm-hmm.
where you could go see a doctor or a nurse practitioner, because nurse practitioners could prescribe medication. You could go in there and say, yeah, like I got a lot of pain, doc, and they would prescribe that. There hasn't been any kind of other drug really that has created a whole other business network to fraud, to like develop from that.
100%.
It would be very hard for anything to surpass that from a level of shadiness, blatant criminality, knowing, hiding the information, knowing the information. When it comes to pharmaceuticals, outside of knowing that what they were absolutely giving out was pure poison and people were dying from it. Outside of that, I don't know what else could be worse than the old opioid thing.
Well, now they're vaccinating like 5-year-olds. I think they got approval for that, which
And I don't know a lot of people that are doing that, man.
I think it's so unnecessary based on just what I see in day-to-day life, right? So I compare all this shit that I hear and read to like, do I know anybody that knows anybody that lost a kid? Do I know anybody? John Stockton says 100 athletes drop dead. Did I even hear about one? Who are these athletes? That too. You got to look at both sides, right? So, I didn't hear that either. I didn't see that either. So, like, what, just like, I think sometimes the shit that comes out in the media, when you try to apply it to regular life, you're like, this is not true. This is not real. There's not, half the people are not LGBTQ and the rest of the alphabet, half of the people, it's just like there's this like fake thing.
Do you even believe that 1 million people have died from it?
You have to unpack that question statement too. Do I believe that there's been 1 million sick people that probably would have died maybe from the flu as well, or some other ailment because they were severely elderly and severely unhealthy, but they tagged that COVID death on them? Also because as 100% a fact, they would get money for every COVID death. So were there 1 million people that were tagged with a COVID death? Yeah, probably. Was that the only thing wrong with them? I don't think so, dude. Like, do you know anybody who's died? Not that, this is all anecdotal, right? But do you know anybody who's died from COVID specifically?
Not in my family, but
acquaintances or otherwise.
Yeah. Like a manager of that works with me, he had like a family member die.
Were they elderly or otherwise had comorbidities or something like that?
I know they were definitely older than 50 for sure. I didn't ask what their family history was, but
right, I got you. I guess the point I'm trying to make is like, we never saw LeBron James died of COVID. Holy shit, that guy was a fucking strong as a horse. Like, we never saw that. We never saw, this young 25-year-old guy that we know was super healthy died. I'm not saying nobody young and healthy died, but it's probably the exception. The majority of the people were older, unhealthy people. That's the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah, I don't think. I think it would be difficult. I haven't heard anybody who said that this hasn't been a disease of older, high-risk people.
That's pretty much accepted, right?
I don't know anybody who says, no, but this kills everybody.
So this is accepted. People understand this.
I believe so, yeah.
But
on either side,
But if you were listening to the briefings and the officials and all this, you would think completely otherwise.
I don't think so. I think what they did though is that they sold the idea that it's possible that you could, no matter who you were, you could get sick and die from it. So you needed to take the vaccine for it. Yes, that there's like a probability that it could happen. But when you looked at all the data, most people who died were older or had other issues.
Mm-hmm.
But they sold the idea heavily that yes, it's possible that you may have a 0.0001 chance of getting it and dying, even if you worked out every day and healthy. So for that reason alone, you shouldn't take your chances.
Right.
Because there's not too many doctors, at least that I've talked to. I haven't talked, like I said, there's people in my family that are nurses, things like that. But typically medical people won't tell you You don't really have to worry about that. Your chance of dying on that is only 0.4999. They generally don't practice medicine on probabilities and chances, right? Because even if you had like a 0.001% chance and there's something that could prevent it from you happening, they'll tell you to take it.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean,
But there also was not much given in the way of there could be an adverse effect to this. So maybe if you're young and healthy, maybe you don't really need this. Because even if you do get it, you may not need anything, but there are treatments that we could give you in the case that you do get it.
well,
There was none of that.
in the beginning, I don't think there was much of that, and I think that's another thing that I think has clearly come out, right? That a lot of doctors really were unsure of how to treat this, and even dabble into what would be considered experimental treatments.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you what, it wasn't until after Trump got it that they really, I think people realize, oh, okay, wait a minute. There's some treatments out there. There's the, monoclonal this and that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think once that started to really get out, then you started to see that even at the testing sites, there were lines for people that wanted to get the treatment, but not the vaccine.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that really started to change then. But I think that maybe definitely one of the things that'll come out is that initially they didn't really push the different treatments as much as they said wait for a vaccine.
And in some cases, that was criminal, I think, to not even try to. Well, and then the ventilator shit just ended up being like a total fucking
But
disaster.
I think it's more likely to come out how poorly the communication was, the information, how it contradicted itself. Whichever side you believed, there was always contradictory information. Wear a mask, don't wear a mask, stay indoors, don't this, that. Oh, their biggest mistake initially saying, oh, like, well, if you take the vaccine, it'll stop the spread. That was a lie. So I think a lot of those things will come out, but man,
Well, yeah, some of those things are already out.
I think it'll be, well, yeah, but I don't think they're considered so much mainstream as much as they're, you know.
Well, I think people reach the fatigue where they just don't want to hear about this shit anymore.
Well, I think that happened that probably happened a year ago already.
And I do kind of see like a comeback right now, but it seems to be like a lighter version. But I noticed like out in the streets, more people wearing masks than I had been seeing in the weeks before. Have you noticed that at all?
I haven't.
No? Not that I saw a shitload of masks, but I saw like more masks than I had been seeing previously. In which when I see it, I'm like, is this person sick? Is that why they're wearing a mask? Or are they just super careful? Or, what's going on?
And just like a lot of people think that this was like, a test to see how far they could go the next time. Man, I don't think, I think it would have to be like Ebola the next time for them to try to do anything like this again.
Me and you will disagree here.
Even their own people have turned on them. People that normally would back this.
But it took them like 2 years to do it.
Whatever.
That's a long time, dude.
I don't think the next, I would be surprised if the next time is worse.
Well, it better be, because if you think about what happened with I know it's frowned upon to compare it to a flu, or really was at one time. It's a flu-like thing. But think about, we shut down the world, all the economies, the global economy, for that. Can you imagine if this thing was like really like super deadly?
Well, I think,
Like say
and
something that was 20% deadly. Like if you got it, 20%, 1 out of 5 of you is gonna die.
I
Think
think
about that, bro.
I think the next time it's going to have to be that
Yeah,
to do that again.
yeah.
That's what I think.
Because they did a lot with something that's like not even a percentage of 1%. That
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, especially over time, have now realized, yeah, maybe that was overkill. I think at the time people thought they were doing the right thing.
Mhm.
Hey, no, they're advising us to stay home. Let's stay home.
Two
This,
weeks
that,
to
the
slow the
other,
curve.
wear a mask, trying to do the right thing, right? I think there's a lot of people now that say, yeah, I think we got some bad information, and
Yeah,
I don't think, man, somebody gets up there next time and says we have to shut this thing down. I think it's going to be a lot harder.
yeah.
I think we got to see the disease has to be like 20% deadly. Blood comes out of your eyes and your ass falls out.
Yeah, some sort of zombie
Yes.
apocalypse situation. But they've set a precedent. So, are you excited about the Dolphins?
I'm not.
Are you excited about any of the videos the Dolphins have been putting out of Tua throwing 5 yard outs and
Even less.
underthrown
Even less.
punts? I'm not sure.
I think what my guess is, this guy's, to me, he's already evaluated Tua, this Mike McDaniels, just by the way he's building this team. If you've noticed, he's building up the running attack, which
Oh,
I agree,
he's gonna run the shit out of the ball.
dude.
That's
He's
what he
gonna
does,
run.
though. That's what he likes to do.
I know, and I've always thought that that's the best. That's the best way to help a quarterback.
I think that's always the best way to football. I think you got to be able to do that, and then everything
So
else is easier.
I could see them establishing a really strong running game, or at least that would be their goal. And then you'll have this guy throwing these little cheap shots at Tyreek Hill,
Which is fine.
and I could see that happening. But I would be shocked if Tyreek Hill is the same player he was in Kansas City. I'll be shocked.
What I think Tyreek Hill will have is probably like a fucking hell of an average, but not a lot of catches. So it may be like some type of Raiders, old school Raiders football thing where they're running, and they throw a bomb every once in a while and he'll make a great play, or they'll throw some sort of little crossing thing that he'll take off on. But most of the time they're going to be pounding, which I like. And you can control the ball, and that'll make the passing easier. That'll make your defense easier. You know,
You
you
saw
don't
they
want to be
signed.
throwing it.
You saw they signed Melvin Ingram on the defense side.
Yes,
That's a heck of a sign, man. That
4
defense should
years
be
ago it
good.
would have been
No, he's still good, man.
definitely on the other side, right? How old
But
is that man?
that's depth.
He's not going to fill a starting role.
Oh no, but I'm saying, that you already have what was that? Agobi, Agda, what was his name that we re-signed?
Exactly.
And then we have Phillips that we drafted, and that's a third guy.
Melvin Ingram. I said Melvin, not Kevin.
I said Melvin.
No, I know my Google here is misunderstanding me.
He's 33.
That is
Yeah,
for a
well,
linebacker. That's not a spring chicken, dude.
No, absolutely, but you do need complementary pieces and veterans like that. Other teams do it with success. We don't tend to.
No, I mean it's not really getting my toes tingling, but
I mean, he was drafted in 2012. first round pick.
Yeah, this is the end of the career, dude. Probably.
Yeah.
Hopefully we get something out of him. Hopefully that lineman that we got from the Saints, I believe, can do something. Hopefully like one of these 50 running backs can stay healthy. At least some of them are familiar with his system. Hopefully we can get the ball to some of these receivers. Hopefully we can play the defense that we think we should be able to play. And hopefully this coach has a fucking idea how to be a game day coach, which I think I can't even say that they were good scheming coaches, but it seems like we haven't had a good game day coach here
Since
since
Jimmy.
Jimmy.
You didn't think Wanzak was?
Oh, terrible game day coach. That guy went in with one idea, and that's all I got. That's all I. Let's just keep going with it. That's all. That's all I got. Halfback dive. That's all I got. Let's keep going. Let's try to hold him. Maybe we can hold him. Terrible.
So you know, to answer your original question, I'm cautiously optimistic about the Dolphins, but I still don't think we have a quarterback. I think Tyreek will be a little bit like Jalen Waddle. Man, they'll throw him, a couple of shorter passes, and maybe he'll break a few of those. But I don't see too many. I don't see him like he was with Patrick Mahomes. No way.
no, absolutely not. Not going to happen. If you had to put a record on it, what are you saying? Dolphins' record is.
I haven't looked at the schedule. I gotta look at the schedule.
Fuck the schedule. Just give me a number.
No, I gotta look at the schedule.
You know, we're playing the West, right?
The AFC West or the NFC West?
I thought we were playing both the West, but I could be making that up. I don't know. Okay, let's look it up real quick before we get out of here.
Where's Hialeah?
He's on assignment in
Pango?
he went to the convention, the one that Nikki was gonna go to.
Oh, okay.
MegaCon, I think it's called. Oh, is this legit? We played Tom Brady week 1, or is this a preseason game?
That's preseason.
Okay. Here we go. Yeah, so we start with the Patriots. Do I have it up on the screen here?
Yes. Week 2 is the Ravens.
Okay, yeah, so we don't play the West.
Is that at home? This is home, right?
Well, week 1 is at home against the Patriots, which is good. It'll be hot.
At Baltimore.
Which we handled pretty well last year.
Yeah, but that was like the first time we beat them in like 30 years.
Yeah.
Then we have Buffalo here, who we haven't beat Buffalo in when? Like 10 years now?
Yeah, I was a child, I think. We play the defending AFC champions on what appears to be a Thursday night game on Prime. We play the Jets, the Vikings. So we're playing the North. Steelers. We have a bye week against the Lions here, which actually I think they've beaten us of late. Bears, Browns, Texans, Niners, sort of a interesting game for the coach at least. Chargers against the quarterback we could have had. Bills, Packers, Patriots. That's kind of a fucking brutal ending to the season. Well, then we get the Jets, but this is where we collapse. We
That's
probably
collapse.
if I'm eyeing the collapse, we'll be here, we might be flying high right after this game. We beat the Texans, we beat the Browns, we beat the Bears, we beat the Lions, we beat the Steel. You know, maybe we beat some of these teams, and then like we go on that West Coast trip to San Francisco, and then West Coast Chargers, and then we go to Buffalo and it's fucking cold, and then we come back down and the Packers come down and spank us, and then we go up to New England where it's cold, and then like for fucking shits and giggles we'll beat the Jets in the last week. Am I lying?
Yeah, very possible.
I mean, if you follow the Dolphin narrative, that's how it goes, right?
So how about you? You're optimistic, happy, excited?
They'll win 9 games, I think. I'm not excited. I'm not excited because Tua is the quarterback. And until that changes, we're not really.
How would you have handled if they would have pulled that Sean Payton and
Tom Brady thing?
Tom Brady, and Tom Brady was a quarterback? What would you have done? Seriously.
I would have burned all my Dolphins attire.
Seriously?
100%. I'm out. I cannot root for that guy, dude.
Wow, that was super close of happening if it wasn't for Brian Flores.
Well, I guess thank you for that.
If that guy doesn't do that, that would have been the deal that they would have chased.
Who knows how likely that would have been.
Even it sounds like Brady was.
Who knows?
You know what that was? A lot of that was about Brady wanting to fuck Belichick and the Patriots. You know that, right?
Coming to Miami?
Yeah.
To play them twice a year?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It seemed very sentimental for him when he went back to New England and he had that game, you know, and all that.
You got to do that, right?
You think he was faking it?
I don't know if he was faking it. I'm sure he feels that way to some degree, but
he still holds that grudge.
I think he would have loved to have spanked those guys, you know, twice a year.
Do you think he more would have loved to have his way and be a Patriot forever, but under his terms and with whatever respect he thought he was due, and that would have been his choice?
Yeah.
So they backed him into a corner. It was like, if you're not going to let me have it my way, if you're not going to pay me my respect, then I'm going to fuck you.
Pretty much.
So if that's true, then yes, he would have loved to have come here and you know, I think he's all about expanding his brand at this point.
Dude,
which he's tried to do.
Did he not get paid like $300 million for 10 years of TV that he hasn't even done one?
How does that work? Does he start getting paid already?
I don't even know.
How does that deal? Like, hey, we'll hold this deal for when you do retire.
And does that mean that they had like a job interview? Maybe they had him do like a couple of takes and do like a few
fake calling of games.
Hey, like we got the studio. Read the script.
Here, we're gonna bring in Joe Buck. He's gonna sit next to you. Call this game.
How the hell do you do that without like the guy? Dude, have you seen Drew Brees? He's terrible.
They fired him, or he's not coming back.
He's terrible. That's the same thing Brady could be.
But he's not a play-by-play guy.
No, but exactly. That's just the studio, and he was terrible.
That's even less of a risk. He's not your main guy.
But I'm just saying that
it's crazy. I agree with you.
Yeah,
you are saying who's the greatest announcer that there is today? Arguably Michaels, maybe, or Bach, or I don't know, or A-list at least, right? Yeah. Who's the best? Who's the best of the best?
I think there's a lot of personal preference there, but people would say
who's
Michaels, the best? Nance, Buck.
Tirico's real good.
Harlan.
Michael's old, but good.
Harlan.
So what you just said is like, this guy's automatically going to be the face of the NFL, and this is the best there is. Really, I've never heard this guy say anything fucking remotely cool. You know,
I haven't found him to be an interesting interview or anything. Then again, I'm biased.
he
I
has
can't stand him.
this fake nice. You know what it is? He's Alex Rodriguez, who I don't know how the fuck that guy got his gig on Sunday Night Baseball and shit, but just it's a phony, dude. That's what it is.
He's a phony and he's good looking.
Are there a lot of fucking fans and people who fucking love him blindly? Yes, and that's what they're banking on, you know. But like, I don't think any real, and when I say real fan, I mean like people who've watched the NFL for a long time, people who know announcers, who know color guys. I don't think any of those people will be like, yeah, man, Tony Romo. We didn't even mention Romo. He's not going to be able to probably hold Romo's jockstrap, dude.
By the way, a lot of changes in that area of broadcasting.
Yeah, a lot of people switching nights and channels and shit like that.
Like Monday night's finally going to have a good crew.
Who is it?
I think it's Buck and Aikman.
They're good. A lot of people make fun of them and shit, but I like them.
No, they're pretty good. I'm surprised. I do like Aikman.
A lot of people fucking don't like Collinsworth. He can be a little bit
harsh.
Unless it's Tom Brady, then he's like fucking coming
shorts.
Yeah, all over himself the whole,
So you're gonna have Tirico and Collinsworth on Sunday night, and then the Thursday nights are gonna be Al Michaels and who?
I'm not sure.
And then you have Buck and Aikman on the Monday nights.
There's not a third guy in that booth?
I don't think so.
Do you think they tell these guys like, hey, you cannot talk shit about Brady? Do you think that, or is that unwritten rule?
I hope not.
But nobody ever really says anything about him. Everybody's just over complimentary.
But say the truth, isn't part of that because they know that anything you say about such a great player, you would just come across as a hater, and they're trying to stay away from that. And we're completely the opposite of that.
Well, I would say it would be so against the whole narrative that like it would be. There's very few people who will come out and say anything.
Well, and
because there is stuff to say, right? It's not like there isn't stuff to say.
Yes, and I've told you this. I mean, I don't like him. I wish he goes away. I could say a million things. I don't want to watch Super Bowls where he's in. But I won't go to the far to say that he sucks and he was overrated and he's no good. I won't do that. I
would say he's overrated.
Yeah,
I could say that.
Or not to say that he's one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. I cannot do that. And I think that's what happens with these pros, right? Or these guys on TV. I mean, it would be hard to say that and be credible.
It's over the top. The way.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that.
It's over complimentary. It's I don't even remember them doing that for Jordan. When I watch a lot of Jordan games, Bulls games. It's like for some reason there's this.
Oh shit! I'm sorry. Just because I popped up while I looked at it while
it's popped up. What?
I popped this up while you were talking because it was in the back of my head.
Mm-hmm.
Al Michaels is going to be with Herb Herbstreit.
That's kind of a weird one. Even though I like Herbstreit, but the NFL is not really his thing. I know he's done a little NFL recently. I've always liked Herb Street, though.
So that booth talent has been really dissipated across all the networks.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be like somebody good every time you watch a game, just about. That's good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry, I interrupted you.
I don't even remember what I was talking about, but yeah, there's some good
Well,
announcers.
you were
out there.
saying everything's over the top with him.
Yeah, and I don't think he's gonna be one of those good announcers. And if I was a fucking announcer, I'd be pissed, dude. If I was Romo, I'd be fucking pissed, dude. Be like,
Well, if
"What?"
this guy gets a ton of money without ever calling a game or whatever the fuck he's gonna do, I would think he's gonna be a studio guy, not a color guy.
I've never heard of a studio guy making that kind of fucking money, dude.
Is he a studio guy or a color?
I don't know what he's gonna do. I mean, what is he gonna do, dude? What is he? He's gonna tell some stories about him and Gronk. He's just gonna always tell stories about Super Bowls he was in. Like, what do we even know? Yes, obviously he knows a lot about football. You know, he's a quarterback. He's been one for a long time. But he's entertaining. Is he likable? For me, no. Would I be able to fucking listen to him call a game? Hell no, dude. But then again, I'm biased. Speaking of, to wrap this up here quickly.
Yes, he's going to be in the broadcast booth.
It's ridiculous, dude. Speaking of content that people don't like, I'm glad about Netflix came out recently, and they said employees who don't like our content maybe should quit. So they updated their cultural guidelines last week and included a new section called Artistic Expression. It states, we let viewers decide what's appropriate for them. And if you find it hard to support our content breadth, Netflix may not be the best place for you. Last fall, some Netflix employees staged a walkout over the release of David Chappelle's comedy special. So I guess they felt it necessary to address that.
Bash transsexuals, is that what it was?
Dude, that was the thing that came out in the media. But really, if you look into it, he was telling a story, and it was about a very good friend of his who was transsexual. And in telling the story, it came across, or they made it seem that that's what he was doing, bashing them. But it really wasn't that. But I'm glad. I feel like that woke pendulum is sort of swinging finally the other way.
I think they've pushed that a little too much, and there's a big backlash that's coming on that.
Yeah, it gets to be too much sometimes, where it's like, this is not real. You know what you're saying that's not a real indication of reality. So, all right. So the Heaters won. The Panthers play tomorrow. I don't know what else is going on.
I'm almost done with Ozark.
I've heard that's excellent. That's not over yet, though, right? It's still ongoing.
It is. My understanding is there was 4 seasons of it, and I'm in the last season, episode 2. There's 10.
But there's a 5th season coming out, right?
I heard not. I heard
Oh.
the finale was in the 4th season.
So you will get to finish watching the whole thing.
I've been working on it for a couple weeks now.
Probably tomorrow. Is that on Netflix?
It is. I've been pleasantly surprised.
Well, dude, I haven't heard one person tell me not to watch that. Everybody that I've talked to has told me to watch that. Hey, real quick, I have something from Man of Action Figures here. We got some of these Funko Pops that are like old magazine covers. Remember magazines?
I do.
So we got some of these with different basketball players on the covers of magazines and their pops. manofactionfigures.com. I gave my shout outs already.
Speaking of magazines,
You said Netflix, right? Ozark's on
Yeah.
Netflix.
Netflix. Do you remember maybe you're too young, but I remember a time where girls and guys used to buy magazines and cut out the pictures and put it in a scrapbook.
I got into a collage phase that I would make collages.
And it was depending, like, for girls, it was a lot of times, like the teeny bopper guys. For guys, it used to be like usually, like Star Wars or, something. Cars. Cars was a popular one.
Mm-hmm.
I
You
did
get
have a
posters
friend.
out of them. Sometimes you get posters
Yeah,
out of the
I
middle.
did. Well, and a lot of magazines used to have a poster in them.
Yeah, in the middle. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I had a friend who did one. He was a gun guy. Even back then, he'd get like Soldier of Fortune guns and ammo, and he'd make scrapbooks of all the cool guns and stuff. But so you remember that, right?
Yeah, but again, I never did like a scrapbook. I ended up doing two things because they ended up being projects for school, and then I did them a couple times more, which was the collage, where you would get like a piece of
Construction paper.
construction paper, and you would glue on like, I think I did like a sports one, so I cut out like different sports people and put them on them and whatever, and then
It was more like making a custom poster.
exactly, and
Yeah.
then one time I did for a dolphin season. I wish I had it, but it was all disappointment, so I probably trashed it. I had a, what was the one that you would do a project on? The cardboard paper that you would open it and then lay it down on a table.
Well, that was like a hard cardboard, like a box.
Yeah, it would
Cardboard.
fold like this, and then you would open it, sort of like
Yeah, I had like two flaps,
yes,
and then you'd have like the two and then one in the middle.
right. The main thing in the middle, and then the two flaps you would have to leave at an angle so it could stand up. And I had one of those for a dolphin season, and it was like every game. So like week one, I had like one picture that encapsulated that game, and then there was just like a little article about that game or a headline about that game. And then week two, so there's like a picture of Marino throwing a touchdown or something, and then a little fucking thing like that. And I had one of those, but I mean, they ended up like 8-8, so it wasn't very memorable.
Yeah, I have two things here in my dolphin stuff that the Iron Bomb actually made for me.
Oh, he physically made them?
He made them.
Oh, wow.
And if, when you see him, you would never, hey, where'd you buy that? He actually made it.
Is one of them a pin set?
One is a pin set.
Yeah, I've seen a pin set you have there.
And then the other is a combination of cards and coins.
Oh, that's cool.
On an aqua matted thing with a glass and everything. Pretty cool.
Oh, wow. I didn't know the Iron Bomb had an artistic side.
Yeah, he does. He's very creative that way when he wants to be.
Shout out to the Iron Bomb. All right, man. It's 3 hours. We have not been contacted by aliens, and I don't think we will tonight. So we should call it a night. Any parting words?
I guess keep looking up in the sky, right?
We don't even do that anymore, really. So we're looking at our phones most of the time. So even if a UFO passed by, we might not even fucking see it, dude.
Do you have a telescope?
Yeah, I pull it out on some of the and the telescope on like I was gonna do it for the blood moon, but I fell asleep and I didn't do it. But when those type of events happen, eclipses or a night you could see meteor showers, I'll whip it out and we'll take. I take pictures sometimes. You could put like
the telescope allows that.
Well, I put my camera up to the viewing eye,
okay,
and then if you do it correctly, you could even zoom in and get some images, which has been cool.
I think a Celestron, which is a kind of telescope, has a built-in camera that allows you to do that, but they're very expensive.
Yeah, I have a basic Amazon, and no, I cannot see the remains of the U.S. flag on the moon. Okay, I know they like to say that in articles. Well, anybody with a reasonable telescope can look. That's not true. On my telescope, you cannot see.
Another reason to think the moon landing was fake.
I'm just saying that you know, as much as people like to debunk, oh no, they always throw that one out. You're not going to see that on, you know, a couple $100 telescope. You need if you can see that, you need a really powerful telescope. I can see like the moon and, you know, some of the major craters and shit. That's why, you know, some asteroid could crash into us, because that shit has a lot of fucking impact craters on it. So
that one worries me.
Yeah. So if that moon has taken that pounding over the years, you know, like, we're gonna take a pounding eventually. Why are we talking about telescopes?
Why are we talking about getting pounded?
Why are we talking about telescopes again?
Oh, I just asked you if you had a telescope.
Out of the blue?
Well, no, because I said we need to keep looking up in the sky.
Oh, yeah. Even though I don't think a telescope will be good it's a very small area, you know, that you're looking at.
Yeah, it's to look to very specific.
Yeah, mine even has like a little thing on the side where it's a spotter. So you find with the spotter what you want to look at, you get it, and then you go back to the main thing and you kind of adjust that to where you found. It's kind of tricky, actually. Like you got to fucking, any one little movement is just you're way off. So like to look at a UFO, I would say your fucking eyes, dude, is the best thing. Maybe a pair of powerful binoculars. But keep looking. You never know. You might find something.